and the team has not lived up to expectations. Yet this team still controls its playoff destiny.
Touchdown, Argonauts! As Mitchell, touchdown, Toronto! Monfort got through, and he's got his quarterback. Breaks one.
Last game of the season, and it's pretty simple, isn't it, Joe?
We still got some more season, baby.
Here we are, week 19, final weekend of the regular season, and the last piece to the playoff puzzle will be put in place today on TSN. It's the Stamps and the Argos as we welcome you inside the CFL Live studio one final time. Our last game, Dave Randolph with you, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, and Jock Climby. And you Argo fans, one thing for sure, you can't say this season hasn't been eventful. Over the course of the wacky past few months, they have had tough losses. There's been blowout losses. There's been a 4-game losing streak, 7 different quarterbacks. One coach got fired. They were upstaged by a skateboarder on their own field, and they even had a riot on their hands in the stands over mini-me bobblehead dolls. And that's just the stuff off the top of my head. But I'm here to tell you right now that none of that matters today. Does it, Schultz?
Not at all.
None of it matters today. This is their biggest game in 3 years. A win and they're in. In fact, they don't even need a win. They just need a single point, Chris, and they're into the postseason. They better get it today.
And how bizarre is that? I mean, for the Toronto Argonauts, they have to win this game, not just for playoff opportunities, but this is the reason this team was put together, to take advantage of this specific moment. When you look at the age of these players, these are all veteran guys. They weren't brought in here for developmental reasons. They were brought in here to get this team into the playoffs as fast as they can. The Toronto Argonauts have 22 guys over 30 years old. The future is right here, and it's right now. Now, the Argonauts have all the advantages. They're playing for a purpose. Calgary is playing to experiment for players. They're playing at home. They've had 2 weeks to get ready. If the Toronto Argonauts do not win this game and they do not make the playoffs, the way this team was put together, it really has to be reevaluated and questioned, and someone has to be accountable, Matt, because it's an older football team, and they've got to take advantage of things right here, right now.
Couldn't agree more, Schultz. They've got to win today, and they have to produce. And with that said, I'm going to break down these two football teams, look at the Argos and the Stampeders, and just go right down their strengths. I think strength got to go to the Calgary Stampeders. I like their quarterbacks overall. I like the running backs overall. Wide receivers, I like their youth. You throw in a little Travis Moore. I love those guys in the O-line. I'm going to give them to Calgary as well. But you come right over here, and I'm going to go with the Argo D-line. I like those guys, the way they fly around. You know I love some big swole. And then the linebackers, I like those guys. Although they're a little long in the tooth, I think O'Shea can get it done. Got to get it done today. And the secondary, I like them as well. So when you look at that situation there, you break them down on what they can do for today. I like the Toronto defense, and I like the Calgary offense. But you got to look at the weaknesses of the football team, because you're only strong as your weakest link. And with that said, the Calgary Stampeders defense has got to step up and stop the Toronto offense. And I think if they could shut down Mookie Mitchell and Robert Drummond, contain those two, they got a legitimate chance of upsetting the Toronto Argonauts.
And as you said, Toronto's defense is very strong. If Toronto's going to win, their offense needs to come up big. And here's a couple of things that they can do to help themselves out today. First of all, Reggie Slack back in the lineup. I want to see him running the option, just as he did in 1997 when he led his 8-10 Saskatchewan Riders to the Grey Cup, and as he did earlier in the season with Toronto. Here's something else I'd like to see them do. Empty the backfield. Here you see them do it against Toronto. 6 receivers out in space, and that will be a very effective tool for the Argos. Why? Because Calgary's linebackers are not the defensive back types. They're your big, classic type of linebackers. They can't defend against receivers in space. Empty the backfield and air it out.
The chase for the Grey Cup begins next week. Our thanks to the folks at the Hall of Fame that brought the cup in to get us in the mood today. Time now to show you the starting quarterbacks for today's football game from Skydome. Brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Going for the Stamps, Marcus Crandall, and going for the Argonauts, Reggie Slack, making his first start since October 14th.
There is one final game to wrap up the CFL's regular season.
Yeah, with 1 point, the Argos are in the playoffs. If Calgary wins, Hamilton will host the playoff game in the East.
And the kickoff is coming up coast to coast on TSN today.
Neon Green is...
First of you winners, now you're just whiners.
Boo! We are different. We are French. Shut up. You're not even real French anyway. Like those guys from Denmark, man. In Vancouver, we're real. Yeah, the championship BC Lions, they're really gonna kick some Alouette butt. Poutine sucks. BC rules.
CFL, the rivalry lives on.
What's up, dudes?
Wendy's CFL Live on TSN is brought to you in part by Wendy's. Take a bite out of hunger with the Wendy's Big Bacon Classic. Wendy's, it's better here. By Molson Canadian, I am Canadian. And by Moore's Clothing for Men. Well made, well priced, well dressed.
Live from Toronto, one final afternoon game in Canadian football for 2002. It is the Argonauts and the Stampeders. An Argonaut win, and there's hope to play again next week right here inside Skydome.
Calgary Stampeders trying to play spoilers this afternoon.
Season has been a struggle for the Argonauts, and so too for Wally.
Well, he has 153 wins in the regular season. The team has won 5 Grey Cups in its history. Wally Buono's been the head coach for 3 of those, so this year is something that he is certainly not used to. See if he can play spoiler this afternoon and put the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the playoffs.
Mike Clemens has a winning record since taking over in Week 7. A win or a tie today, and he'll coach in the playoffs for the very first time. 1 point is all the Argonauts need, and all the Tiger Cats do not wish to see here this afternoon. Saskatchewan Roughriders will be landing at Pearson International Airport next weekend to play in Eastern Canada. Will it be here, or will it be Ivor Wynn?
Just depends on which highway they take, I guess. We'll find out 60 minutes of football from now.
Noel Prefontaine has this underway. For the Stampeders, out across the 40 to about the 43, and that's where Marcus Crandall will begin. Kamal Peterson and Wayne McGarity, 2 newcomers at wide receiver this season. Travis Moore, a veteran inside receiver, and also a veteran Kelvin Anderson. Up front, the offensive line, pretty much the way it has been all season long. Starting lineups brought to you by Midas. See Midas for all your car care needs. Midas, we do that. On first down, Stampeders, Crandall near side, and he's on the money for McGarity. Pushed out of bounds immediately by Adrian Smith.
Strength of the Argonauts is their defense up front. Johnny Scott, Demetrius Maxey, and Joe Mumford climbing up the sack race. And then in the secondary, this is a secondary that leads the CFL, tied with Montreal with 27 interceptions on the season. And Joe Mumford with 9 sacks on the years in the last 4 or 5 games really added to his total in a big way.
Definitely a slow start for Montford in Toronto, but he's on the money now. And on first down, after a 16-yard gain on the first play, it's Travis Moore making another reception. And that'll be good for close to 5 yards, almost 6.
You see the way Marcus Crandall has started this game. The Calgary Stampeders playing like there's nothing to lose. They're relaxed. They're out here trying to play spoiler, trying to play for a little pride and play for their jobs next season. They know that Wally Buono will watch the game film very closely after this one to see who, if anybody, folded the tent.
2nd and 4. Flags are down. Turns the corner, and there will be nowhere for Anderson to go. We'll check out the infraction. Anderson over 1,000 yards again.
Yeah, just another season for Kelvin Anderson, over 1,000 yards. Ho-hum for Kelvin Anderson, who is the Calgary Stampeders all-time leading rusher.
Offside, Toronto, number 72, first down.
Anderson has never missed. Johnny Scott was offside.
You know, and you could think that the Toronto Argonauts are going to be a little bit fired up. Johnny Scott offside. I mean, this is their season. The season is on the line, and despite a rocky road for the Argos, they have a chance here to make it up in a big way because you got Johnny Scott and those defensive players up front who are now so wound up. They control their destiny. All they need is a point, and not only they get a playoff game, but they host it.
Been a long time since the Argos have done that. Crandall is 3 for 3. Now McGarity lost it. Had it and dropped it. They call it an incomplete pass.
Well, I call it a pretty good hit from Alondo Steinauer. That's what it was, because McGarity went over the middle and Alondo Steinauer timed it up perfectly. This is a free safety in the Canadian Football League, number 21, who leads the league in tackles. Now, that's sort of a good and bad situation for the Argos. Good in that Alondo Steinauer can make those tackles in the open field. It's not so good, though, when your safety's leading the league and leading your team.
It'll be 2nd and 10. Stampeders at the Argonaut 40. Crandall from the shotgun. Time to throw. And about 10 yards too far for Kamau Peterson down the left side. He was held up and couldn't run under that, but he had to be a lot quicker.
Argos, John, send everybody. Linebackers 1, linebacker 2, linebacker 3, and watch where they're coming from. Everybody just hits those gaps on the fly. All-out pressure on Marcus Crandall. He has to get rid of it. Kamau Peterson can't get in behind the coverage in time. Coverage provided by Adrian Smith.
So this drive will end in a field goal try from 47 yards for Mark McLaughlin. And it will not be an effective kick off the post. So it's a dead ball and no points.
The ball didn't look like it came out of there very good from the get-go. That ball was low. Didn't have much of a chance. Didn't get a good look at the hold from Don Blair, but
Matt Kellett had a couple of those the other night in Vancouver. It'll be Reggie Slack starting for the Argonauts this afternoon. His key receiver is Daryl Mitchell. Demetrius Bendros is the other slot back. Alford and Talbot are outside, and Robert Drummond will run the ball behind an offensive line with one change. Jude St. John will not be in the lineup today, so Corey Annette draws in and will start at left guard.
Jude St. John hurt his elbow in a car accident. The last-minute scratch.
Reggie Slack takes off himself. Lots of room to run for Slack. Out to the 42. And a 16-yard gain for the Argos.
Calgary front seven going to be worried about Reggie Slack and his ability to run the football. This front seven led again in the middle by 14-year veteran Alonda Johnson. And there's your secondary, a secondary that finished 9th, dead last in the CFL with interceptions, just 10 on the season.
When you look at Alonda Johnson, there aren't very many familiar faces on that Calgary Stampeder defense. First down. Morelli makes the catch and is dropped almost immediately.
Reggie Slack's playing with a bad thumb, and it's on his passing hand, but he's the guy, and he's the starting quarterback here in this game because of his decision-making process throughout the year. I think Mike Clements, the head coach, just feels more comfortable with a veteran in Reggie Slack, a guy who's only thrown 2 interceptions in 7 games with the Argos, in that starting role rather than Jim Ballard.
Mike Morelli picks up 3. This will be 2nd and 7 for the Argos. Shotgun again. In a hurry. Flags are down. Alford made the catch and spins around. He's across midfield. And we'll see what the infraction is all about.
Well, I think it's going to go against Calgary, at least according to Ted Alford it is. But that blitz was picked up so well by the Argos. It gave Reggie Slack a chance to throw. Now, he got pressure late. But if
illegal contact, Calgary number 3, penalties declined, first down.
Argos will take the first down, and gladly they're out across midfield.
Watch center Chad Folk pick up this blitz. This is not easy, folks. This is a center. He's got to snap the ball, and he's got to read it in a hurry. Chad Folk recognizes that the pressure's coming from the outside. He's the center right there. See how he's looking to his left? Looks out there, he sees it coming, and he steps out and picks up Jason Bray.
Andre Talbot flanks to the near side. The Argos set up right at midfield. Slack a little option here, and this didn't work well. Drummond is back. Lost it, and the Stampeders will get a touchdown out of this. No flags anywhere on the field as Anthony Malbrough carries it all the way for the Stampeder touchdown.
The play is created at the line of scrimmage with good pressure quickly on Reggie Slack. Reggie Slack had to pitch this football before he wanted to. And the pitch is well behind Robert Drummond. That is a lateral. It is a fumble, and Anthony Marlborough picks it up and is in the end zone. Look at the pressure. Slack gets hit right in the mouth in a hurry. Antoine Young steps across the line. That's called zap technique. Zap the quarterback, make him pitch it fast. He pitched it when he didn't want to, and Drummond had no chance to get it.
So a tough start for the Argonauts, who had driven out to midfield and put together a decent drive to get there. One miscue, and the Stampeders are in the end zone. A 32-yard touchdown run by Anthony Marlborough, and it's 7-0 Calgary.
At home hardware.
For the Toronto Argonauts from 1986 to 1994. Prior to that, he played 3 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. The towering lineman appeared in 124 games and was a 2-time CFL All-Star. Over the past 5 seasons, Schultz has become one of the best football analysts in North America. Look for
the game cost 7 points. Anthony Marlborough finds the end zone for the Stampeders.
Just to the left of your screen, Antoine Young with the hit there. Now, Robert Drummond has a chance right there to scoop it up. He gets pushed ever so subtly in the back from Alondra Johnson and misses the ball. That could almost have been a penalty because you can't impede the guy's progress to a fumble.
But it was a subtle little
But it was
maneuver.
a little subtle push by Alondra Johnson. Anthony Marlborough scoops it up in one hop, and he's in the end zone.
Low kick, not deep. Sean Daniels will be out just near midfield, and that's where the Argos coughed it up.
Well, John, this is the probably worst case scenario for Mike Clements and the Toronto Argonauts. This is a Calgary team that travels across the country, is now on Eastern time. They missed the 2 hours, so they get up early for their pregame breakfast, and it's really like 4 or 5 in the morning. They're trying to get their motor running, playing in a game that means nothing to them in the standings because they're already eliminated from the playoff picture. And what do the Argos do? They hand them 7 points right out of the gate, and that will get team's motor running.
Argonaut first down, and Slack hands off Robert Drummond, and flags are down. This play going nowhere and was whistled down before Drummond took a step.
Well, and this is what Robert Drummond's got to do more. They got to get the ball to Robert Drummond. The last couple of weeks, Robert Drummond has averaged 121 yards rushing.
Number 11. Repeat first down.
Just so happens that the Argos have won both of those games. They're on a 2-game winning streak, as a matter of fact, right now. And a big reason for that winning streak is the play of Robert Drummond of late.
You have to give the Argonauts some credit for the 2-game winning streak and what Drummond has accomplished.
You get a 7-yard rushing average in the last 2 games. That puts your quarterback in 2nd and 3.
And looking back at the beginning of this season for the Argos at 1 and 5, you have to give them some credit for that. There's Drummond on 1st and 5, and he'll have the first down or be very, very close to it.
Well, and the other thing with Robert Drummond, when not only that he's put up 121 yards per game in the last 2, but also when he's running in the middle and he's running those tough yards, Reggie Slack is known as a running quarterback. And he's going to run to the outside and attack the perimeter of the defense with his legs. Robert Drummond has to be established in the middle of that run game in order for Slack to have success to the outside.
Argos playing for a spot in the playoffs here this afternoon against the Calgary Stampeders. And you know what? They could wake up tomorrow and be heroes in Toronto. The Leafs are in the dumper.
Not doing so well, are they?
They have lost way too many games already. The Raptors are in trouble. They've lost a couple in a row, and Vince Carter is a little nicked as of last night. So Pinball and his guys could be on the front page of all 3 newspapers tomorrow by simply winning a football game here and going to the playoffs. Inches to go for a first down. Slack will put it up. No, he won't. Hammered to the turf and wrapped up in a hurry, by Otis Floyd, who celebrates the sack.
You've heard it many times, John. The coaches and commentators will say when you get 2nd and inches, it can be a ways down, but you really have to sell it. In other words, you have to walk up to the line of scrimmage and act like you're just going to do the quarterback sneak and then try and fool the defense on 2nd and inches. I think
not drop back like that and set up for the pass.
Well, that's the mistake the Argos made. They went up, and the receivers came out of the huddle all excited, looking like they were going to catch one. Reggie Slack dropped back quickly, and Calgary snuffed it out.
Back-to-back errors by the Argos. The fumble and turnover cost 7 points, and they were looking at 2nd and inches, and now they've kicked it away. Antonio Warren has the Stampeders out near the 20, and there's a penalty flag thrown on the return. 13 on the return for Warren. It's Wendy's CFL Live from Skydome. Might have been for the Argonauts.
Yeah, you got to sell it. If you're going to have a waist down, 2nd and inches, and try and throw the football, you have to sell it. Watch how the receivers, Daryl Mitchell, Mike Morreale, break the huddle. See how they attack the line of scrimmage? Now, as a defensive back, you know that Daryl Mitchell is trying to run deep on the play. He's well covered there by Anthony Marlborough.
Argos had to kick it away. They do get one break because the Stampeders were caught for holding and start back near the 10-yard line.
But, John, that's a crucial mistake early in this game for the Argos because you're in 2nd and inches. You fall forward. You got a first down. The drive continues. And I think, you know, the thought is you fool the defense, maybe you get the big play. And then you tell Reggie Slack, listen, it's not there. Just throw it away. And on 3rd down, we'll go ahead and sneak.
Yeah, he waited too long to find a receiver. He should have dumped it off knowing that Mitchell was covered there. 5 yards for Kelvin Anderson. It's 2nd and 5 for the Stampeders here. Randall looking deep. And too far. So the Argo defense holds, and Toronto will get decent field position on the exchange here. 7:34 to go in the opening quarter. Stampeders on a fumble return touchdown covering 32 yards by Anthony Marlborough have the lead at 7-0.
Marcus Crandall tried to go deep again to come out Peterson on the outside. The first time he tried to do it, Peterson was open, but the blitz was there, and Crandall had to throw it quickly. That time, the Argos showed blitz. Crandall read it wrong, went to the guy that was covered by Adrian Smith.
Duncan O'Mahony is in, standing a half a yard deep in his end zone. Bashir Livingston, 1 of 2, ready to receive. The charge was on. Flag is down. Decent return for Matt Cody.
Yeah, the Argos
activated just prior to the game.
Now the Argos are going to get some more yards tacked onto this. This is going to be holding against the Calgary Stampeders. Scott Dybert. Clifford Ivory came off the edge, and he was rushing the punter.
Holding, Calgary number 4. Penalties declined. First down.
So the decision for Mike Clements there was to take the holding and make Calgary punt it again, in which case they likely would have given up the safety.
But a decent return here of 20 yards, and the Argos are across the 40 and into Calgary territory, so
that's
made the right call.
That's right. So he decides to decline the penalty, but Scott Dybert just tackled Clifford Ivory rushing the punter on that play.
First down for Slack and the Argos. Dodges one behind the intended receiver, and Morreale got a hand on it, couldn't bring it in.
Calgary
that was a dangerous pass as well.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders are sending some pressure. Again, it's Jason Bray. They're blitzing from the secondary. This time the blitz is picked up by Robert Drummond. And Drummond on the outside here, he sees Bray coming. Now, Bray has been blitzing on almost every single down so far. Number 11 off the edge right there. You see Drummond pick him up. The pressure comes from the middle. That's just Antoine Young beating his man. But if they continue to blitz from the secondary, look for Slack to go to Daryl Mitchell.
2nd and 10 Argos at the Stampeders 39. Draw to Robert Drummond, and this will work for Argonaut first down. Actually, Drummond got dragged for an extra 5 yards by the Calgary tackler.
Well blocked up because Alondra Johnson got caught in the wash. Alondra Johnson slides to the inside. Good timing on the call. 2nd and 10. Go to Robert Drummond. Makes a nice move to the outside. Alondra Johnson got caught way down inside and didn't have a chance to make that tackle.
And did you see Lawrence Dack pull him ahead? It was good for extra yardage for Robert Drummond, who picks up 18 and sets the Argonauts up just outside the 20. First down.
Mitchell right over the middle. Again, a good call by the Toronto Argonauts offensively to layer the receivers. Andre Talbot, the deep one, Daryl Mitchell, the crosser, and that takes the safety Greg Frères out of it.
Huge play just prior to that, the drop by Robert Drummond on 2nd and 10. And that gave the Argonauts a chance to connect for the touchdown. Reggie Slack to Daryl Mitchell. It's 21 yards and an Argonaut touchdown. We're even at Skydo. Yards in 3 plays, and the scoring play belongs to Mookie Mitchell.
See, no safety in the middle right here. Daryl Mitchell is going to come. Andre Talbot is taking Greg Frères out of there. Now you see, there's Daryl Mitchell right there. Inside position on Jason Bray. He's got that inside position. Good body adjustment to turn back to get that touchdown.
And Bray didn't miss tipping that away by very much.
The key for Daryl Mitchell here is to get inside position. When the safety has gone deep because of Andre Talbot's pattern, that's Greg Frères out of there. Then it's up to Daryl Mitchell to get inside position.
So the Argonauts come back and get even with the Calgary Stampeders after a couple of costly miscues. So no worse than even with 5:24 to go in the opening quarter. It's all on the line for the Argonauts this afternoon. Winner and tie in Toronto will be around for the playoffs. Out across the 30, and that's where the Stampeders will begin after a 21-yard return.
Well, you're absolutely right, John. This is not all bad for the Toronto Argonauts when you think about the 2 mistakes they made early on in this game. The fumble, Anthony Marlborough with the touchdown, and then 2nd and inches, not coming up with the first down, having to punt the football. Both mistakes not really costly to the Argos because it's all knotted up at 7.
Wayne McGarity with a 21-yard return, setting the Stampeders up. Just across the 30. First down, Calgary. Crandall diving under a tackle by Antonius Bonner.
Last 3 games, Joe Montford has 4 sacks. He has 9 on the season, good for 2nd in the CFL, and he's allowed to do what he does, and that's just get after the quarterback. In the last 5 games, he's got the 5. First 12 under Gary Echeverry, just 4 sacks. The first 12, he was asked to play inside a whole lot more. Tackle running backs, take care of a gap responsibility. Now he's allowed to freelance a little more.
Travis Moore makes the catch, and he's down at midfield as Crandall had him spotted as soon as he broke into the clear.
And that's a tough catch to make for Travis Moore because Alondo Steinauer, the safety, is really trying to bear down on him. We saw Alondo Steinauer come up and hit Wayne McGarity early. Steinauer just making the safe tackle this time instead of going for the hit. Still, Travis Moore had the field coming.
A gain of 18, Stampeders right near midfield. Crandall tries to sell it, does well, wide open, touchdown toss. Dragged into the end zone, and they call it a touchdown.
Well,
Don Blair.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fake by Marcus Crandall. And it's not just one fake, it's 2. He's going to fake like he's going to throw hot. Here's the snap of the ball. Watch number 1. He fakes that he's going to throw hot first. There's the fake throw, fake draw play, and now go over the top. And Alondo Steinauer, the safety, stopped his feet. His feet were not moving. He froze on the fake to Kelvin Anderson, and Don Blair got right in behind him.
A 56-yard touchdown toss, and Marcus Crandall sold it well. Don Blair was wide open. Barely made it across the line, but he did get there for the Stampeders' 2nd touchdown. And with a convert, it's 14-7. Stampeders on top of the Argos.
On a running play, and Steinauer leads the league in tackles. But if you're the safety and you're moving forward on the snap of the ball, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be wrong.
So the Argos have to bounce back one more time for Don Blair, his 4th touchdown reception of the season. Relegated to a backup role in the latter stages of 2002. Montreal Alouette, a new Argonaut after coming back from the National Football League to join the Argos this week. Jimmy the Jet Cunningham down with an injury, so Matt Cody will be used sparingly as a return guy here this afternoon.
Well, there is some talent when you look at the Argos roster on the defensive side of the ball. They certainly have a bunch of it, and then Matt Cody will help them in a big way if they can get him in for the playoffs. And you got Demetrius Bendras, who can help out and balance out Daryl Mitchell a little bit. There is some talent out there. Robert Drummond playing pretty well. Robert Drummond will not be the future running back for the Argos.
No, they're not going to build this franchise around the abilities of Robert Drummond at this stage.
But he's running hard, and we mentioned what he's done in the last 2 games. If he's hot at the right time, which is right now, that's all that Toronto is worried about at this time.
See if the Argonauts can bounce back. It is Talbot flanked to the near side with 2 other receivers on the right. And there's Robert Drummond stopped in his tracks after maybe a 1-yard gain. And that's all that was there for Drummond that time. Here's John Liu.
Well, John, Reggie Slack made up for his earlier miscue, but he's hoping to bank a little bit on some history. 5 years ago, Slack and the Saskatchewan Roughriders were huge underdogs in the Western Division semifinal against, ironically, Calgary Stampeders. They went on to win that game, and what Slack told me yesterday was the most important game he started since this one today. So that's a lot, saying, considering Saskatchewan went on to the Grey Cup to lose, ironically, to the Toronto Argonauts. John?
And Reggie Slack literally ran the Rough Riders through the West that year. Much like that, although he didn't get away this time, John. So.
Well, and that's why, though, what John just said, that is exactly why Reggie Slack got the start in this game. Because he has the experience not only in the regular season, he makes better decisions than a young quarterback, and he also has that experience in the postseason. And John alluded to the run that they had in '97, Saskatchewan. Went all the way to the Grey Cup and lost to the Argos in Edmonton.
Slack ran them right through Calgary and ran the Rough Riders past the Eskimos as well.
That was his running ability that got him through there, no question. They ran that option to perfection in Saskatchewan that year.
Noel Prefontaine, undoubtedly the all-star punter in the CFL East this year again. Antonio Warren returning for the Stampeders. Still a little fire in his belly in an afternoon that will be the final one for the Calgary Stampeders in 2002. Down immediately as Kelvin Anderson goes off and behind right tackle for maybe a yard or 2. O'Shea is there.
Now you got to think that the plan for the Argos heading into this one was get the early lead and then hope that the Calgary Stampeders would basically mail it in from that point on.
Offside, Toronto number 53, repeat first down.
And that plan is out the window. You know, that plan is right out the window. So now the pressure is on this Argo defense, and this is where this team was built from training camp. Defensive side of the football first. Johnny Scott, the front 4 up front, Demetrius Maxey, Joe Mumford. It's time now, if the Argos want to go to the postseason, they can't wait much longer to establish that line of scrimmage, especially defensively, and start to create some havoc against this Calgary offense.
Well, and the defense has held the Argonauts in the early going, save one play. Toronto currently down by a touchdown. Stampeders looking at 1st and 5 from the 31. Crandall looks to the right side. And met immediately short of the first down.
Hello, Antonius Bonner.
Bonner makes the play.
Scott Regenbald just didn't have a chance to even think twice. That's what you call picture-perfect form tackle from Antonius Bonner.
The gain was short, unfortunately, for the Argonauts. It was only 5 necessary for a first down, so this is 2nd down, less than a yard to go, and the Stampeders will continue this drive.
John, that play by Antonius Bonner, though, although the drive will continue, that's got to be one that's got to pick up this defense. The one thing I've noticed so far in this game from Mike Clemens' defense is there's not a lot of bounce in their step. And that's a little bit surprising. This is a defense that really should be controlling this game, or at least trying to at this point, because this is how the Argos have won games, with their defense. And right now they're sort of walking around. You can tell when they break the huddle. You always watch a team when it breaks the huddle. They break the huddle crisp, do they turn around, get down on the line of scrimmage, get ready to play. And right now the Argos haven't done a whole lot of that in this game. They just don't look like the emotion and the jump is in their step at this point.
Close enough to measure, and it will be 3rd down. I thought Crandall had the inches necessary for a 1st down, but the Stampeders are going gambling now on 3rd and inches.
Sure, why not?
There's the surge, and definitely a 1st down this time.
Let's see Michael Fletcher turn around, try to grab Marcus Crandall's ankle.
Yeah, and he was dragging him out of the pile. It was Crandall hanging out of the ball and Fletcher dragging him out of there.
Fletcher started the season at free safety and was injured, or hurt his shoulder, because he didn't have much regard for his body when he was hitting people early in the season. But is definitely a guy that you could build your secondary around from the safety position, because he can play that safety position. He's got great range and he'll hit you. And he just tried to pull the ankle of Marcus Crandall off, and it didn't happen. They get the 1st down.
Final play of the opening quarter. Stampeders looking at 1st down. Crandall has played well so far. Time to get it away, and he'll get halfway to a 1st down on the completion to Kelvin Anderson. That's the 2nd time Anderson's helmet has come off in the opening quarter. So it'll be a gain of 5 on the last play, with Calgary leading Toronto 14-7. So Mike Clemens and the Argonauts have a touchdown to get back and get even.
Wellesley, here's the cup. The Argonauts would like an opportunity to fight for that Grey Cup, and they've got to take care of their business today on their home field. Pretty eventful 1st quarter as the Argonauts fight for their playoff lives. 3 touchdowns. Let's take you through them. It did not start well for the home team.
No, David, let's take a look at the 1st touchdown for the Calgary Stampeders. It's the option play. Now, the option play in pro football is hard to run because the athletes are faster and everyone is very assignment conscious. But what happens is the left tackle, Dwayne Morgan, who I think is one of the best left tackles in football right now, he makes a bad inside seam step. What does that do? That really allows Antoine Young to be aggressive towards the quarterback and force the turnover on that play. They can't abandon the option because that is a huge part of Reggie Slack's game, but it was well rehearsed in terms of Calgary's defense. 7 points because of a miscue and an opportunity Calgary took advantage of, Matt.
Yeah, Calgary took advantage of him there, but they got it taken to him on his next series when Robert Drummond gets off and he has a big run and puts Toronto into a position to score a touchdown. And then the other nemesis, Mookie Mitchell, the big guy for the Toronto Argonauts. As far as I'm concerned, top of the show, I said Calgary's got to contain him. Well, they don't do a good job here. Jason Bray gets beat over the top, and the Toronto Argonauts score the first 7 points of the game. Again, Drummond, Mitchell, got to take them out of the equation, and you got a real good chance of winning, Jack.
I can't believe you guys aren't laughing at me for saying they need to run the option and then have
Well,
a touchdown
were
scored.
nice
They got to execute the option.
We were.
You're very kind to me, guys. At the top of the show, I talked about Toronto needs to run the option. They did in touchdown. Anyway, so I want to look at Calgary's touchdown here. And here's Orlando Steinhauer at the top of your screen. The reason why he gets faked down, you're going to see him bite on the fake, is because Calgary runs a great play here where they pump fake, then they play action, then they go over the top of his head. Orlando Steinhauer expects maybe 1 fake, but he's not expecting 2 fakes in the same play. That was great misdirection by Calgary, and I think people will be putting that in their playbook for next year.
Nothing's going to upset Jock today, by the way, because his Queens Golden Gales hammered Western yesterday. So he's pretty fired up about that.
Golden Gales, baby.
What the Golden Gales?
Gales.
Stampeders are leading the Argonauts as we get ready to begin the 2nd quarter here at Skydome. It's a 1-touchdown game as it stands right now. Calgary looking at 2nd and 4. Steps back near the 42. Crandall has played well. It's back to Crandall after the handoff. He's in trouble. Barely got it away, but he has a completion. get a first down out of it as Regenbald makes the catch. The handoff went to Anderson, back to Crandall. Crandall was in trouble, barely got it away, and found number 21.
Well, two things involved in this play. First of all, heads up for Marcus Crandall to be able to see that he had a receiver in Scott Reginald after fumbling the ball. But this is, again, another example. Michael Fletcher, really the only Toronto Argonaut defensively that was up in there. If the Toronto Argonauts defensive line are getting off the ball a little quicker, maybe they have a chance to recover that fumble.
Net gain is 13 yards, first down, Toronto. Right at midfield. Crandall pumps once. And he was bumped in the throwing motion, and that one trickled harmlessly to the turf.
Well, now, even though that ball was behind the line of scrimmage, he was hit, so it won't be grounding. Look at Joe Montfort. He's coming off, kind of hesitates a little bit, really doesn't get a good jump there.
Two Stampeders were actually pushed into the quarterback.
He got pushed into a little bit.
Montfort was there to force one into Crandall, so it'll be 2nd and 10. Just shy of midfield.
See, look at the Argos right there. They're not really in their stances yet. Now they kind of put their hands down just before the snap.
Crandall has a receiver far side. And sloppy tackling by the Argonauts again allowed Travis Moore to turn that into a first down. It should have been a gain of about 5 yards.
Well, Montfort is lined up to the right side of your screen right here, and he does provide some pressure, puts a little bit of a hit on Marcus Crandall. Little hesitation, step cuts underneath, and pow right in the chin on Marcus Crandall. And you're right, that's sloppy tackling out in the open field.
There's one miss.
Pretty good move by Travis Moore on Matavius Houston. He gets the first down on his own. Watch Montfort, though, make Crandall pay for this a little bit. Right up under the chin.
Gain of 11 yards. Stampeders are now at the Argonaut 44.
There you go. That's different.
Flag down.
But that's Johnny Scott. That's what I'm talking about, the difference between establishing that line of scrimmage and just catching the blocks as they come off. That time Johnny Scott got off to a great start, was in the backfield, and Anderson had no chance.
And truthfully, if the Argos are going to win today, defense is going to set it up.
Calgary number 67. Penalties decline.
See,
2nd down.
Yeah, and that'll create that sort of situation where you're going to have offensive linemen that'll have to grab you if you go after it. Watch Johnny Scott, 72. Look at that great takeoff. He does the swim move where he's got that arm over move, gets right in the backfield, and Jamie Crysdale has to try and hold him.
A 4-yard loss is the result. 2nd and 14 facing Crandall and the Stampeders now. More heat on Crandall, got it away. Kelvin Anderson had his hands on it. He wasn't going anywhere if he did make the catch.
Now, and those are the first 2 downs of this game that I think the Argos have really come off the football. And now maybe they're starting to wake up a bit. Montfort comes off, they show blitz and drop out of there, but look at that pass rush. I know it was set up to be a screen, but the guys got off the ball, they forced a quick throw, and then Antonius Bonner was right there. Montfort gets up off the ball, he's working one-on-one. Martavius Houston there, and look at Montfort hustle back, just in case Kelvin Anderson does hang on to that football.
The Argo defense forces the Stampeders into a punting situation. O'Mani is now back inside his own 50. There'll be no play on it for Matt Cody. Number 11 at the far side. The Argo defense holds, and it's still a 1-touchdown game.
Wendy's CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Wendy's. Take a bite out of hunger with the Wendy's Big Bacon Classic. It's better here. By the Molson Canadian Ultimate Road Trip. Must be legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. And by Moore's Clothing for Men. Well made, well priced, well dressed.
One final CFL game on TSN this afternoon. We're closing in on halftime in that one. And tonight on the NFL on TSN, the Jags and the Giants kick off at 7:30. Hope you'll hang around for that. The Argonauts trying to grab a playoff spot. All they need is a point from the Calgary Stampeders, but the Stamps have the lead by a touchdown at 14-7. Argonauts first and 10 near the 10. Reggie Slack, far side. a first down when he made contact.
He kept
with
fighting,
his receiver.
and when he kept fighting for extra yardage, Otis Floyd made him pay for the fight.
Demetrius Bendras paid for the catch. Stampeders are thumping pretty hard in there.
He had about a 6-yard gain and ended up, his forward progress is going to give him about 4 or 5, but he ended up being tackled 4 yards back of where he started.
They'll mark it as a 5-yard gain for Demetrius Bendras. Charges on, Slack got it away. And the Argos will come up short of the first down.
Calgary Stampeders.
At the 20.
Calgary Stampeders are not mailing this one in, I guarantee you. They are flying around. You saw Otis Floyd hit Demetrius Bendras. Otis Floyd's going to hit Robert Drummond again. Here he comes. Look at that hit it. 3 Calgary Stampeders lowering the boom.
Third down, better than a yard to go, and the Argonauts have little choice here.
You're the Hamilton Tiger Cats right now. You're going, yeah, Calgary.
Hey,
nice hit.
Keep
it up. Yeah.
Noel Prefontaine pounds one out near midfield. Stampeders return it near the 45, an 11-yard return. It's Wendy's CFL Live from Toronto. And a little interesting in Calgary, too, bringing people around to wonder about Wally Buono's future with the Calgary Stampeders after missing the playoffs for the first time in 13 years.
Well, again, it's hard for me to clarify my future when it's already clear. I mean, I am under contract, with the Stampeders for 2 more years, plus the club does have the option. So from that point of view, that's my intent and that's my vision. From that point of view, like I said, you have to deal with the issues at hand. The media has a tendency to speculate on things, and I can't do anything about that. But like I said, we're looking forward to playing tomorrow. We're looking forward to ending the season on a good note. Like I said, then we'll get started on 2003.
However, it will be an interesting offseason.
Well, you look at Wally Buono's career record, 153 wins. This team, Calgary Stampeders, in their history have won 5 Grey Cups. He's been the head coach for 3 of those. In my mind, it is a huge mistake to make a change because of 1 season in 13 not making the playoffs.
However, there will be speculation about it with Michael Federick, the new owner, and Wally Buono missing the playoffs this year.
Plus, when you break down this season, John, and you look at it, I mean, it's the difference between him in the playoffs and not in the playoffs is really a fine line. I mean, there's what he's done since 1998. Look at that, 12-win seasons, 3 in a row there. They struggled a little bit last year. They lost some talent this year again, and at 6-11. But this is a team that lost 2 games in overtime, and those are 2 games. You take those and you win those. That's 1 play difference. You have 1 play that goes your way and you win that game in overtime. And now you're sitting at 8-9, and you're in the playoff picture.
Well, that Winnipeg game where the Stampeders had the big lead going into the final minute, 47 seconds, really changed the whole season. Antonio Warren out to the 40-yard line. That was 2nd and 10, and the Stampeders come up short there.
Pretty nice open field action from Antonio Warren as he catches his ball in the flat, and the design of the play is to put it in the hands of a talented player, and let's just see what he can do with it. Watch a little shake and bake out here. A little back and forth into the middle.
Sheer Livingston made the stop on Warren. Stampeders are a couple of yards shy, so it'll be a field goal try.
It just, to me, to do anything other than have Wally Buono back to continue to build this football team, I should say rebuild it, would just be a mistake.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that there will be some speculation and lots to talk about in Calgary in the offseason. McLaughlin is wide, and Mitchell gives up the single. So the Stampeders settle for one. It's 15-7. Season in the president's office and ended up on the sidelines as the head coach of the Argonauts. And through all of that, they have used a total of 7 quarterbacks. Offense has been the problem.
Yeah, and anytime you're last in a lot of offensive categories, you see some important ones there. Maybe the most important, the points at the bottom of that list. But when you're last in a bunch of CFL offensive categories, it's usually because you've had inconsistencies at your quarterback position. You mentioned 7. Stanley Jackson started the year as the guy they thought would do it. He got hurt. Jim Ballard was another plan. He was injured on and off. We still could see him in this football game this afternoon. Reggie Slack came in to try and bail the team out. Won his first game. You got Marcus Brady, who's really an unproven talent.
So who are we missing? Just Hawley?
Well, Jack Hawley
snapshots on the sidelines. Michael Bishop, too.
Was quick, and then, of course, Michael Bishop is a real future project for them.
It'll be first down, Toronto, trailing the Stampeders by 8 points. The Argonauts 1 point away in the standings from grabbing a playoff spot. Here's Slack. No one is open, and Slack takes out. He'll have a first down. That is what Reggie Slack brings to this Argonaut football team. He is not the future, but for the time being, he is a guy who can make things happen
with his legs. And that's when you look. We showed you the offensive categories and how they've struggled at that point. So, you know, when you're looking at those numbers as a defense, you say this is not an offensive team in Toronto that really puts fear in your heart. But it does have enough talented people that can put fear in your heart in one play. Reggie Slack running can do that. Daryl Mitchell running down the field looking for a deep pass can do that.
Gain is 12 yards, and this is Robert Drummond for a couple. Tyrone Rogers, one of the tacklers in there on Robert Drummond, who joined the team partway through the season, actually arriving on the 1st of August, so playing his 12th game here today.
And the Argos have to pull out all the stops. I mean, this is your season on the line. You got to go deep. We haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Calgary number 51, first down.
Well, London Johnson said something to somebody, and hasn't stopped.
Well, the Argonauts, with a point here this afternoon, meaning a tie or a win, obviously, would host the Eastern semifinal and the Saskatchewan Roughriders next Sunday. So that's what's at stake for Toronto. Nothing is on the line for the Calgary Stampeders, except, as we've mentioned a time or two, a little pride and jobs for next year. Robert Drummond. And the Stampeders defense, led by Melvin Bradley and James Cotton, waiting for Robert Drummond there. Now, Drummond has run well the last couple of weeks.
Well, against Ottawa, he took off in the very first play of the game and had a big 60-plus yarder, and that really got him established the running game for Toronto. 15 carries, 124 is what he finished with. But look at the average, 8.3 yards per carry. Average a little bit down right now, but all he needs is one big one to get it right back up there.
Second down and 10. Holding will be called, and Slack just fired that one away.
Reggie Slack had Calgary Stampeder defensive linemen all over him throughout that entire play. James Cotton joined the team late this year, the Calgary Stampeders.
Number 74, Melvin Bradley, has been a nice
Toronto number 56, penalties decline, third down.
Tyrone Rogers has played well, and Antoine Young is also new. So what they've done, the Stampeders, is changed the entire front four from the way they began the season.
Well, the front four that won the Grey Cup game last year didn't come back this year.
Including Joe Fleming.
Including Joe Fleming.
And that was the guy they really missed up at the get-go.
And that was the rebuilding process for Wally.
Noel Prefontaine angling this one to put it out of bounds a little deeper than he got it. Rushed that one a little bit. It goes out about the 15 for Noel Prefontaine. I'm off to the Hockey Hall of Fame tomorrow night, just down the street from here. I'm not going in. I'm just introducing a few guys who are, including Clark Gillies.
I was going to ask you, what were you, a
Calvin Anderson Anderson, a huge run for the Stampeders, takes them out near the 40-yard line. Roger Nielsen is also going in. Clark Gillies from the Regina Pats to the New York Islanders. Rod Langway. Bernie Federko is also going in. A couple of Western hockey leaguers, and Federko the pride of Foam Lake. Gillies the pride of Moose Jaw. So I just get to introduce a couple of guys going in.
A couple autographs, a little introduction.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at that.
It'd be great to see Roger Nielsen and hear his speech. So that's all tomorrow night on TSN. Crandall sees an opening and takes off. Lots for the first down. And Crandall has better than 20 yards on another run. This Argonaut defense has to step up and make a play pretty soon, trailing by 8 points.
You know, when you see Marcus Crandall play like this, he's made some plays in this game, and you start to wonder why he's been criticized so much this year. See that big running lane right down the middle. I mean, that's, John, you could run through that one. Well, maybe that's a stretch, but Marcus Crandall, he certainly can, and he's made some big plays in this game, and then you start to wonder why he's been criticized so much all season long.
I could have made it through there on my new conditioning program. Kelvin Anderson stopped in his tracks.
And you know, when you look at Marcus Crandall's numbers, he will likely get over 4,000 yards passing in this game this afternoon. Coming into the game, Marcus Crandall was sitting at 3,766. So, you know, and 24 touchdown passes, 18 interceptions. And yet throughout the season, a lot of the people in Calgary have been on Marcus Crandall. Of course, last year he was the Grey Cup most valuable player when he threw for over 300 yards in the Grey Cup game, winning it for Calgary. So,
well, and he also led the Stampeders through the Western playoffs and played extremely well then. On the money again, Crandall is picking apart the Toronto Argonaut defense. Camille Loud making the reception there.
You know, and when you look at Marcus Crandall, I think last year was really the first year for Marcus Crandall as a starter to try and establish himself. He went through some ups and downs last year, finished real strong, had the Calgary Stampeders on a run, and then they won the Grey Cup. This year, he's still not really established himself as a consistent starter, and he was still finding his way with a new offensive coordinator in Jacques Chapdelaine. He had to change the terminology, and he has started to do that. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards.
Well, he's 77 yards away. Make that 65 yards away from 4,000.
You know, and then over the last 3 or 4 weeks when Calgary has really struggled and it's appeared that Calgary was not going to make the playoffs. I mean, a lot of people in Calgary were saying, well, now this has got to be Ben Sankey's team and Marcus Crandall should move. And, you know, I think the key for Wally Buono and Jacques Chapdelaine, their coordinator, is trying to keep both of them on the roster for next year and have a 1-2 punch. And I know that may be difficult. Both quarterbacks would like to have a team that they can be starting.
Well, Sankey wants a team. He wants to be a #1 quarterback. So,
but I don't
and he's a free agent.
I don't think you'd give up on Marcus Crandall just yet.
First down, Stampeders. This drive continues. Wide open. Kelvin Anderson looking to the end zone. Can he get there? He does. Touchdown, Calgary. And the Stampeders really made that drive look very simple against this Argonaut defense.
John, is it just me, or am I hearing a rumbling just down the highway here?
Well, I think the Tiger Cats are pretty excited about what they're seeing.
And their fans are getting a chance to watch Calgary just come and take it to Toronto a little bit. Establishing the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively, and Marcus Crandall's making plays.
I wonder what they're thinking in Saskatchewan. Who do you think the Rough Rider fans and the Rough Riders are cheering for here?
Well, I don't think it matters to them. They're in it. There's a bunch of Ticat fans in attendance here and obviously cheering on the Calgary Stampeders. That's a tough situation to be in, boy, if you're the Ticat players. You're sitting there watching this game and it's totally out of your control. And as an athlete, that is the worst feeling to have in the world. Although right now they're pretty happy with Calgary and Marcus Crandall way up on the Argos now.
Marcus Crandall to Kelvin Anderson. It's a touchdown toss that covers 19 yards, and the Stampeders are dominating the Argonauts.
See the quick decision made there by Marcus Crandall. And, you know, a lot of quarterbacks, when they're young and they're trying to make every play and make that touchdown throw every play, will hold on to the ball too long. Crandall just dropped back there, quickly recognized that Kelvin Anderson was the read. He's the open guy. He's the guy I got to dump it to. That ball was out of his hands and into his playmaker's hands. Kelvin Anderson certainly made the play.
22-7 for the Calgary Stampeders, playing their final game of 2002. No matter what happens here, the season is over for the Grey Cup champions with one more half of football plus 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The Argonauts are facing exactly the same situation. If in fact they don't do something and rebound here, the Argonauts have a chance to be around for the playoffs, but they're not looking like a playoff team right now.
Well, they got to start playing desperate football, and they haven't been so far. And with the Calgary Stampeders, you always want to finish the season, no matter where you are in the standings, with the win. I talked to Jim Daly, who helps out with the defensive line and is a part of the coordinator as well, along with Roach. And Daly was telling me, you know, this team is so close. I mean, it is so close. We've finally found the pieces of the puzzle. We've got the talent on defense now that we think we can win with. Had we got that talent maybe 4 or 5 weeks earlier, we probably would have been there. And everybody's now on the same page. You want to win your last couple of games, finish strong, and take that momentum into next season.
Argonauts need a big return from Matt Cody. Reversing his field, and there wasn't much there for Cody after he did that. Stopped at the 25, and that's where the Argonauts will begin, with just over 3 minutes to go till halftime, and a very impressive scoring drive for the Stampeders. 94 yards.
Yeah, Kelvin.
3 minutes and 21 seconds.
Calvin Anderson started the drive with that big run. That was play 1, and the 6th play of the drive went to Calvin Anderson. That was the 17-yard catch and touchdown play. So it was Anderson at the beginning and Anderson at the end.
And you like the way Crandall passed? Well, he ran for 23 yards as well.
I like the decisions that he made.
1st and 10 Argonauts. At the 25. This is Andre Talbot, and he turned it into a first down. He'll come close. And that was good effort for the Argonauts offensively.
Yeah, and if you're the Toronto Argonauts right now, down 22-7, it's almost time, and I know this is the first half, but this is your season. It's almost time for Reggie Slack to go right into the hurry-up offense.
3 minutes. That's the warning here at Skydome. We'll be right back. Is just around the corner. Final halftime show for our guys.
Motley Crue get to do it one more time.
One more time, and I'm sure they'll be perfect.
Pressure's on them now.
Pressure is on. And it's on the Argonauts, too, because they're down 22-7, looking at 2nd down and 2 here. Playoff spot is on the line.
No fars.
Alford makes the catch, and that should be a Toronto first down.
And every second that Reggie Slack gets up into the huddle and takes that full 20 seconds in there to read the wristband and get the play called is seconds off the clock, as Mike Clemens takes an anxious look towards the clock as well. You know, and I know this is first half. You got a lot of football to play, but you have to play desperate football now if you're down 22-7.
Argos really need some points before the half. Here's Slack rolling right, and a target on the far side. They call it a catch.
That's a good catch, too.
It's an excellent catch as Slack hooks up with Andre Talbot.
He had to go horizontal to get that one. And this is Andre Talbot. This ball's shown out in front of him and looking way out. Diving for that football. Over 200 yards receiving coming into this game. He's got a couple of catches and key catches here this afternoon.
Previous catch for 8 yards set up a 2nd and 2. So Talbot has receptions here this afternoon. And Robert Drummond. Thrown back finally by Melvin Bradley.
One thing that
these guys are having a little fun here this afternoon, the Stampeders.
Yeah, they have nothing to lose. They're flying around, having fun, putting some hats on some people and making some big hits, and why not? Finish the season strong. You always want to make sure that when you cross the stripe that whatever the coaches see on film and whatever you do on the football field is a reflection of you as a player. Mike Roach, the defensive coordinator, stands up there. He's going to be evaluating every one of these players after this game.
Slack over the middle. He's got Ted Alford closing in on field goal range, if nothing else here, with 1:39 to go. So Ted Alford, 24 receptions coming into the game, has a couple here this afternoon, and a 12-yard gain there.
You know, that's a good throw by Reggie Slack, and I know it's just a short little dump throw over the middle, but if Reggie Slack does not lead Ted Alford there, then Alford doesn't get the first down. He put that perfectly out in front of him, so Alford in stride could catch it and turn the corner.
From the 45, Slack with a solid afternoon and room to roam here. Reggie Slack goes to the outside, trying to cut the corner there, but he has at least 8. And this Argo drive is looking a lot better than the previous one.
Well, this rush from the Calgary Stampeders is causing Reggie Slack. His rush is coming right here, and it's causing Reggie Slack to not really be able to have a chance to set his feet. You see, just as he gets ready to set up and try and throw the football deep, he can't do it. So he drops back in there. His feet are still moving. The pocket starts to collapse on him, and he has to take off running. Pretty good numbers from Reggie Slack, considering he hasn't had a whole lot of time to throw the football.
Picked up 9 there. This will be 2nd and 1 for the Argos with 1:13 on the stadium clock. A little option move, and Robert Drummond turns the corner. First down, Toronto.
It's the drive they needed. And this is the drive that the Argos had to have.
Touchdown here would be absolutely huge for a team trying to make the playoffs.
Well, they had to have this drive. I mean, even if they come away with a field goal, it's some momentum going in at halftime. You've still got a chance. You're still in the football game. If they lay down in this drive and Calgary gets another chance at it, this game could be over before halftime.
Less than a minute to go till halftime. Argonauts 1st and 10, and there was early movement. The touchdown toss goes toward Morreale, and there are flags everywhere down there, but I think the Argos might have been offside.
Well, there's the flags at the line of scrimmage, and there's flags down where Mike Morreale ended up, and the ball ended up bouncing. Now, I saw Morreale push on Anthony Marlborough. Now, was Anthony Marlborough pulling? See, the DB pulls, the receiver pushes.
Well, you'd know that well.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, I was pull and grab and hang on and whatever you could do, whatever it took.
Well, I thought there was early movement back at the line of scrimmage, and I thought it came from the Toronto side.
Well, here we go.
Well, they're taking a while to make their announcements here.
Offside, Toronto, number 86. We also have forward pass interference, Calgary. Balance of penalties, it's first down.
So they got Anthony Marlborough for the grab and the pull. And you were right on the offside. Demetrius Bendros offside on the play for Toronto.
Early start on the far side is what happened there.
And Mike Morreale got away with the push. Anthony Marlborough tried to grab and hold on, and he gets the flag. The end result, Toronto gets the first down. The drive continues, and they still have plenty of time to punch this into the end zone.
47 seconds till halftime, and they're straightening up
on that
the
last
yard
play,
markers on the far side.
On that last play, though, John, both Mike Morreale and Daryl Mitchell were in the same area, and that's something that I saw them talking to each other in the huddle that they had to straighten out. Daryl Mitchell was open. Mike Morreale brought extra coverage in there.
So here's the situation. It is 1st and 5 for the Argonauts at the Stampeder 27. Slack got rid of it in a hurry, and Morreale draws the flag this time.
This is Anthony Marlborough again, and I'm not so sure on this one if he's going to get called. This is the one with that left hand sort of dragging on the back of the receiver, which really doesn't make any difference anyway. And we've seen it called quite a few times this year.
Forward pass interference, Calgary number 26.
Yeah, I don't like this one. The last penalty, there's no question. They were both pushing and pulling, and whoever that's called, it's going to come this side of your screen. And this ball is way out in front, and that left hand is sort of on the backside of Mike Morreale from Anthony Marlborough, and Mike Morreale wasn't catching that one anyway. Marlborough has a chance to go for the football and have position at it as well.
Argos are first down at the Stampeders 16. Time running out into the end zone. Mitchell was the target. Well covered. Daryl Mitchell couldn't come up with that one.
I think it was Anthony Marlborough again that was out there on coverage, and there's no question the Argos are going after him. That's the third play in a row that they've gone after Anthony Marlborough. Remember, Anthony Marlborough has a touchdown already in this game.
The fumble return of 32 yards.
And you see how he turned his head and looked back to the football before he put his hands up, and that's why he doesn't get called for his third straight pass interference.
37 seconds till halftime. This is the play that could decide whether the Argos have a chance at a touchdown or will have to settle for a field goal. Whistle down immediately. Second down and 10.
Reggie Slack was very upset. He may not got that play off in time.
Time count violation. Toronto number 14.
There you
Third
go.
down.
And that'll cost you a down. There's exactly what the Argonauts have faced too many times this season.
You know, that's
just those little mental errors.
Well, that's loss of down.
Yes, it is. It's third down.
Yeah, and that's a huge mental error and a chance at 7 points, and should never happen. I mean, you saw the emotion from Mike Clemens on the sideline, something you don't see very often. He was very upset with that one because that one is avoidable.
Well, the Argos have made several costly errors this afternoon, and they'll settle for a field goal try here. Noel Prefontaine hammers it through. They might be lucky to be heading to the dressing room down only by 12 points.
Well, they're upset. They had a chance really to put the touchdown on the board and be right back in it. That goes away, but it was a successful drive from Mike Clemens, and now he's got to try and build on that at halftime. Go in there and say, okay, guys, look, it's a 12-point game. No problem, but we've got to play desperate football, and he's starting to get on everybody right now on that sideline.
Halftime today, terrific for a couple of Winnipeggers like John Liu and John Wells, because the band is here. Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman, part of the halftime celebrations here this afternoon. John Liu is going to be down there right alongside the Winnipeg Rock and Roll Legends.
You know the old BTO band members.
You know, it was a long time ago.
Back in your Winnipeg days.
We used to follow the Guess Who all around Winnipeg.
Well, they've done they've done a nice job in Toronto trying to create some more interest here by bringing in guys like Tony Hawk. We saw the big Muhammad Ali game with all those great fighters here in attendance, and it has increased attendance in Toronto, and just trying to do something to get more interest in the city.
How about it, John Liu?
Well, John, like you said, the Toronto Argonauts have brought in some great halftime acts this summer and this fall. Of course, Muhammad Ali, super skateboarder Tony Hawk, and one of my favorites, Amanda Marshall. But
you met Amanda Marshall, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And of course, they're going to finish on a high note here with two Canadian rock legends, Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman. So stay with us for the halftime show.
Look at
well, Antonio Warren may take this one all the way. He gets the touchdown. Adrian Smith ran him out of bounds, and the Argonauts may have just booted their opportunity to be around for the playoffs with 21 seconds to go.
Right when Mike Clements is over there just trying to get everybody fired up, they have a huge breakdown on special teams. And this is well blocked, no question. This is nothing but a wedge return. And what a wedge return is when everybody comes down and gathers up. The blockers all gather up in front. Look how they gather up. Now they call, let's go, boys. They hit it up in the line of scrimmage. Antonio Warren gets a couple of blocks. Now it's a foot race. Now Adrian Smith has one crack at him right here and can't get him out of bounds. That's tremendous strength from Warren, who just pushed off Adrian Smith to get in the end zone.
And to stay in bounds.
And a coach now in Mike Clements, who for the most part has a permanent smile on his face, because that's the way that Mike Clements approaches life. He may go in that locker room, maybe the first time they hear him go up and down some people.
Yeah. It is 28. Make that 29-10. You know, the Calgary Stampeders with nothing on the line. The Argonauts just gave up a 99-yard touchdown return to to Antonio Warren.
Daryl Adrellin is the special teams coach, and a lot of times it's the assistant coaches that also feel it a little bit from the head coaches when something like that happens, especially in a crucial game. Now, fairness to Daryl Adrellin, when Gary Echeverry left, Daryl Adrellin also took over the defense and has really been flooded with all the stuff that he has to do and get ready for a football game. But Mike Clements will likely talk to him and to his players, and it will be in a very stern manner, I would imagine, simply because they've come out flat defensively, haven't made the plays that they're expected to make, and that is a crushing blow on special teams with the half almost over.
Injury timeout here with 21 seconds to go, and the Stampeders on top 29-10. Let's bring in Dave.
Well, Wellesley, because Antonio Warren returned that punt for the touchdown, Lynn Roy of Winnipeg, Manitoba has won a whole bunch of stuff, including the Sultan Health Grill and Rice Cooker. Can't beat that.
Big day for the Winnipeggers. We're going to see Bachman and Burton on the sidelines here. You're going to get a little guitar lesson from Randy Bachman, I hope.
Nice. Yeah,
I'm going to invite him up.
Yeah, a little jam.
Second half, yeah.
Maybe we can jam together, you know. And this is Mike Clements' worst nightmare. I mean, he's got a pretty good crowd in here. I don't know what the final attendance is, and they've got a nice crowd, and there was a game that they had a chance to go in there and say to themselves, okay, we can show our fans. You mentioned earlier the Leafs are struggling, the Raptors are struggling. We can show our fans, maybe win some fans and win a playoff spot here in this game.
Well, they're playing for a heck of a crowd next Sunday afternoon.
Well, that's right.
And they've given up the big plays like Anthony Marlborough's 32-yard fumble return touchdown, and then Antonio Warren just after the Argonauts had driven for the field goal, and Warren takes it 99 yards.
And, you know, and I'm not ruling them out. There's a half of football to be played. It's only 29-10. But there's a real problem with the intensity level, and that's something that you can't draw up. That's something that you just can't go in there and say X and O that. You just got to go look at the guys and say, hey, every one of you better look in the mirror right now. Your season is on the line. Are you going to go compete in the second half, or are you going to just lay down?
Well, Mike Clemens is noted as a very inspirational speaker. I mean, people pay big money to listen to him speak at certain situations and conferences, and he may have to give the address of his life at halftime here today, because this is serious stuff for the Argonauts. And what's happened to them here in the first half. Reggie Slack, with very little time left, has wasted most of it here. Didn't get one away, and I'm sure the Stampeders had it well covered, but
they did.
Slack couldn't find anybody open at all.
When Slack broke out to the outside, he only had one deep receiver, and that was Teddy Alford. So with one deep receiver, he was trying to see if he could maybe make a big play. He had all that time to the outside. He throws up almost a Hail Mary pass, and he gets a chance, but he only had one deep receiver, and he was triple covered.
I mean, there was nothing. I mean, the Stampeders are obviously knowing what is left as an option for the Argonauts. 6 seconds to go.
You know, I think maybe coming in that second half, Reggie Slack gets the first series, and then maybe you switch things up. It's desperate times now for the Argonauts.
Slack takes it deep. Ross is wide open, but zeros are on the clock. He couldn't get down in time. And the gun sounds. That's the end of the opening half at Skydome. The Argonauts have fallen behind 29-10.
At the Half is brought to you by Wendy's. Wendy's Classic Double with Cheese is made fresh right when you order it. It's better here.
Welcome back to the CFL Live studios. Dave Ranner with Chris Schultz and Matt Dunnigan and Jock Climby. And it was a week ago today where we sat and watched the Hamilton Tiger Cats on their home field with an opportunity to lock up their playoff spot. And we were just bewildered by the fact they didn't have the required emotion to step up and take care of business. Schultz is a guy who brings emotion every single day. So I wonder, I'll ask you, why is it? Why can't they bring it when they need it most?
That really is a question that sometimes you struggle with when you watch it from the outside looking in. I really don't know, but when you talk about football players, what separates the average from the very good is how emotionally ready they are to play football each and every play. Watch Otis Floyd here as he's going to make a play on this play to make a hit that shows that he's ready. Here comes number 1 hit, number 2 right there. That's Otis Floyd. Those are punishing hits. Those are the style of hits that you see that you want from your players. Right now, that's on film. And next year, the entire coaching staff from Calgary will evaluate this, look at Otis Floyd and say, that's the type of guy we want on this team because he is emotionally ready to play on a game that means nothing in terms of the standings, Matty.
Early in the week, Wally, head coach for the Stampeders, challenged Alondra Johnson to use this game and play it like it's his Grey Cup, and that's what the Calgary Stampeders are doing, offensively, defensively. Here we see Kelvin Anderson get this drive started for the Stampeders. Power running right up the middle, exploiting the Toronto's defense. And then Marcus Crandall, very underrated runner, 23-yard gain here. That guy looks like he's trying to run his team into the playoffs. And then his nice strike in the flats to Kelvin Anderson, a 17-yard scoring strike. The Calgary Stampeders are playing with the intensity the Toronto Argonauts are looking for, Jock. And it behooves me. It just doesn't. It boggles my mind that the Toronto Argonauts aren't stepping up and trying to take this game with more emotion.
Well, we'd expect more urgency, and obviously that's the problem with Toronto at the moment. And there's something else interesting happening with the Argos in that, obviously with the coaching change and the quarterbacking change, they're in a situation where they're having to rewrite the playbook. And that's good to a certain extent. Here, for instance, is Reggie Slack. And Reggie Slack has a certain style of play that they're now trying to use. Here you have him showing him rolling out. This is not something they were doing with Ballard with other quarterbacks. And here we saw earlier in the game him running the play action and letting him run with the football. This was not something that Toronto had planned coming into the season. And we see him right here with a little bit of the old run and shoot. This is the stuff that Reggie Slack used to do, and they're putting in these plays for him because this is what he does best throughout his career. That's great. But if you're not doing it since training camp, you have trouble when you get into must-win games like today, David.
Toronto has been victimized by a fumble that was taken in for a touchdown, a deep ball to Don Blair, now a kickoff return all in the first half, and they find themselves in a pretty deep hole down 19 going into the third quarter. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, there's one other game going on in the CFL today. It's in Montreal, the Renegades and the Alouettes. Highlights of that one coming right up on Wendy's CFL Live.
This day in the CFL, brought to you by SportCheck.ca, Canada's choice for sports.
November 3rd, 1996, Saskatchewan travels west to take on the Stamps, and Calgary gets right to work. Danny Barrett goes to the end zone for running back Kelvin Anderson, 17-0 early. And more of the same in the second half as Barrett goes long and finds Alan Pitts. The Stamps pounded the Rough Riders this day, 46-23. As mentioned, one other game on the final day of the CFL's regular season in Montreal. The Ottawa Renegades in McGill to take on the Alouettes. The Owls looking for their 14th win of the season, which would be their most successful season ever, and they're up 20-7. Ottawa scored first on an interception return by George McCullough, but Montreal has roared back with the 20 straight points. Playing without Anthony Calvillo, by the way. Matt Lytle is their quarterback today.
Yeah, and that impresses me most about what the Alouettes are doing this year, especially the last month of the season, because there's nothing but on the line other than to fine-tune your program. And Don Matthews continues to motivate his football team and get the most out of them. And professional or championship clubs are based on, Chris, about finding ways to win. Mark Washington coming up with a fumbled punt, taking in for a score. To me, this is indicative of the type of team that they are, the championship caliber football team that's finding ways to win football games.
And Matty, now the question for the Montreal Alouettes is how do you handle the 2 weeks off before you play another very competitive game? Well, it's pretty easy because football is an apex game. So your first week, you do not take it off. You have a regular practice schedule, maybe 3 or 4 days, but you don't practice with the same intensity. You don't practice with the same focus. You practice for both teams you may play. But that second week, that's when you pick it up. And then you get into a regular routine. And that is the key. Not necessarily ignore that first week, but make sure you put all your emphasis on that second week of practice so you hit that apex going into the playoffs, Dave.
Congratulations to Dave Ritchie and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers winning their 5th in a row heading into their playoff game next week against the BC Lions. They beat Edmonton yesterday 20-8 at Canadiens Stadium.
Yeah, and how about those Edmonton Eskimos? Obviously, that's not the way they wanted to end their season. And, you know, it's so important, momentum, going into the playoffs. And here's what's even more important than winning games is making sure that all your teammates like one another, that you're cohesive, that you're a unit. And here we see on the sidelines in the game yesterday, Ronald Williams and Alfred Payton mixing up and getting it into with one another. And that is a very, very bad sign for a football team, guys, that, you know, has got a layoff. I mean, how are you going to fix that?
Well, I think Chris Wally hit it nail on the head. You got a defensive player and offensive player. Things aren't going well for the Edmonton Eskimos. Certainly, they wanted to send a message to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the same message the Bombers sent to the Eskimos, and that's that we are the dominant football team. Well, it wasn't working out, Chris, for the Eskimos, and I think there was some finger pointing, and Wally pointed that out yesterday, and I can see that. You know, I played with Alfred Payton. I know Ronald Williams very well, and there's two competitive athletes that didn't like the way the game was going, and they just kind of took it out on each other.
Well, Matty, I've been on teams where we didn't really always like each other very much, and we didn't get along, and we didn't hang out. And then I've been on teams where we really got along extremely well. Both kind of atmospheres and attitudes work, but if you're going to give me one, if I have a choice, I want the team that gets along. Because in pressure situations, you got to believe the guy you're playing beside is going to be there for you and is committed to you and is going to help you perform as an individual. So I don't like seeing the fights on the sidelines. I'm a cooperation guy.
And
what are you laughing at?
We fight every now and again in the studio.
We are
here. And
He just wants everybody to get along.
I'm a cooperation guy.
What is this the softer side of Schultz?
No,
you getting all sentimental? The season's over? What is up down there?
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
All right, we'll figure this out in the commercial break. The Calgary Stampeders with four touchdowns in the first half, all by different players. This one to Calvin Anderson, the Stamps in control, 29-10.
All right, let's take a look at the stats in this football game, brought to you from Moore's Clothes. Well made, well dressed, well priced. Jacques Clammy?
Nice intro. Thank you, Schultze. Calgary Stampeders right now beating up on the Toronto Argos. Time of possession is the most significant in this football game. Toronto needs to get more consistent on offense if they hope to pull this one out.
Can't disagree with that, Jacques.
Now, come on, Schultz, throw to the coaching interview.
Off to Coach Michael Clements. John Lew with Wally.
Well, Coach, you wanted to finish the season off on a positive note. I don't think it could get much better than this, Kenneth.
Well, again, everybody's doing their job, and that's what we talked about all week. You know, we're proud of the way the guys have played the last 2 weeks. It's unfortunate that we started this late.
Marcus, in particular, has had an up-and-down rough year at times. How important is this half or this game for his confidence heading back for next year?
Well, I think it's important for everybody. Offensively, we've not had the consistency at receiver, which has affected the quarterback. So the last couple of weeks, we've had the same receivers, and I think it's really helped Marcus today.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Hey, more quality entertainment going on down at Skydome. Randy Bachman, Burton Cummins entertaining the crowd in downtown Toronto. Second half action's coming right up.
Tell them that you like it this way. It's the work that we avoid, and we're all self-employed. We love to work at nothing all day, and we've been taking care of business every day. Taking care of business every way. We've been taking care of business. It's all mine. Taking care of business and working overtime. Work out.
Hungry? Well, Wendy's pickup window's open.
Here's the Antonio Warren 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And if there's a second one in this game, a second kickoff return, Lynn Roy of Winnipeg, Manitoba wins $1 million. So obviously she's pulling for one of those. That would be a nice way to spend your Sunday afternoon. It's not so nice so far for the Argos. I mean, what do they got to do besides raise their intensity level?
Well, David, I'll go back to my opening comment about this is a football team that was made to take advantage of these moments, and they're not. So somebody has to be accountable for the fact that they're not developing a football team with a balance that can progress and also can get better as the season goes on. Compare them to the Hamilton Ticats. The Ticats almost have an excuse. They're a young football team. They got a lot of kids that have never played an 18 game, but I don't think Toronto has any excuse. If they can't turn it around this half, then they got to look at the personnel and reevaluate Matty.
Yeah, I think so. And the youth of Calgary is overcoming the veteran, older players of the Toronto Argonauts.
They want it more, man.
I think if Toronto does, in fact, go on to lose this football game, they're going to be in no better off situation than the Ottawa Renegades, an expansion team, because a lot of those older players will probably have to be going down the road or taken out to the pasture in a situation where you're going to have to reevaluate your entire organization. With the Calgary Stampeders, they're not in the playoffs, but I see a football team that has got youth in place, and I see a team that Wally has had rebuilt over this season, taken a lot of heat for that, but he's rebuilt the team and put them in a position for better success down the road next year and so on. With the Toronto Argonauts, they're looking at probably revamping their entire organization.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready to write off the Argos in this football game, but obviously there's got to be some some concern right now with how this game is progressing. And now we have to start thinking maybe of what Toronto has to do down the road. And we referred to the fact that obviously Toronto is an older football team, but the coaching staff also is completely revamped. And they've been completely without a defensive coordinator. They've had to take their special teams coordinator and give him defensive coordinator responsibilities. So now who's looking after special teams? And we saw that there in the kickoff return for a touchdown. That has to have an effect. And so if you look down the coaching staff that Toronto has right now, you got Paul Mazzotti, for instance, guys who's gone from player personnel. Now he has to be a receiver coach. Receiver coach moves over. Complete shuffle, and they're not taking advantage of the personnel they have. And they have great personnel.
Well, the personnel that they're bringing in, Paul Mazzotti is now the receiver coach, and now they bring in Brad Elberg 2 weeks ago, who hasn't played all season. They bring in Matt Cody a week before the biggest game of the season. To me, this is indicative of the way the football team's been run the entire season, Chris.
One thing we got to deal with is football is a game for young people. In between the ages of 25 and 30 is when you're at your best. And if you don't have a balance in terms of your older guys, that middle block, and the young guys, you're going to suffer, and I think Toronto is.
Well, you got the Toronto Argonauts fighting for their playoff lives, the Hamilton Tiger Cats sitting at home watching the TV on pins and needles to find out whether or not they're into the playoffs, and then you got the Saskatchewan Roughriders trying to figure out whether or not they're going to Hamilton or Toronto. It will all play itself out over the next 30 minutes. Let's take you back to Skydome.
Almost ready to begin the second half, and the Argonauts definitely not taking care of business in the opening half, and Pinball will be a little upset at that. Let's bring in John Liu.
Pinball, most important half of the season coming up. What was the message to the guys at halftime?
Well, we have to now get focused on the task at hand. I explained to the guys what our mandate was. Now, defensively, we have to stop them. Offensively, we will go for 2 the first time we score a touchdown. If we don't make it, it puts us in a 13-point game. So that means we have to score 2 touchdowns in order to win the game. They have to be focused. Offensively, our mandate is to score 2 touchdowns in this third period. The first half, we had 3 big plays that really turned the game around. We had a fumble on an option play that they scored on. We had a kickoff return, and then we bid on a play on a touchdown play right up the middle of the field. 3 big plays, scored 21 of their points. Otherwise, it's a different ball game. Now we have to be the ones to make the plays in the second half.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Best of luck in the second half.
So the Stampeders score a couple of touchdowns on big plays, and then Marcus Crandall connects for a couple more.
Well, there's the play that Mike Clements said we bid up on. That was Orlando Steinauer, and Don Blair got in behind him.
And then Crandall to Kelvin Anderson.
Dumped it out in the flat, got rid of the ball, put it in the hands of a playmaker, and he made the play.
Anthony Malbrough had a 32-yard fumble return touchdown to get things going. Antonio Warren 99 yards as well.
This is that other play, the big play that Mike Clements talked about just before the half. Antonio Warren in behind the wedge. 99 yards.
Not an Argo came close until right there. And Smith couldn't force him out of bounds. So the Argos have their work cut out for them to make the playoffs. They'll begin near midfield with a first down as a result of decent field position on the return. Slack gets it out. Alford puts his head down and gets a couple, and there's another loose lid on the turf here at Skydome.
You look at the quarterback numbers, pretty good for both quarterbacks. Marcus Crandall made some great decisions, threw for 184 yards, 0 interceptions. Slack, not bad either, really. The yardage not quite as high, but his percentage is good, and he hadn't thrown an interception in the first half. So both quarterbacks performing fairly well, although now it's time for Reggie Slack to go down the field a little bit more.
He's looking at 2nd and 4 here on the Stampeders side of midfield, and penalty markers come down.
Sandy Annunziata got up out of his stance and was moving early. Not sure if he was drawn offside. I don't think he was. This is going to go against the Argos, so another mistake.
Procedure, Toronto, number 65, repeat second down.
Well, and they were sitting pretty with a 6-yard gain.
And that was about as somber and maybe angry I've heard Mike Clements, even though
I wouldn't say somber, I'd say angry.
Yeah.
He's feisty right now, and he's got every reason to be angry at his football team. So now it's 2nd and 8. This might work. couple already in the second half.
You know, they've got a couple of plays like that. I mean, that's a big play from Ted Alford. It's what's called a dig pattern or an in. And Ted Alford just going to run from the wide position, come all the way across the middle, and that ball out in front of him. But Ted Alford has to fight off the coverage there of William Fields and still come up with a catch. Those are the type of plays, though, first down plays, that should inspire your offense.
And it needs a little inspiration, but there's lots of time. A 19-point deficit facing the Argonauts as the second half gets underway. Reggie Slack has Mitchell coming out of the backfield. And a super tackle near the 40-yard line as Mitchell goes down.
Deshaun Austin was the guy who came up on that one. This is a design play, something that the Argos have run many times. It's almost like a glorified screen where Daryl Mitchell's going to kind of come back behind the line of scrimmage. Reggie Slack takes the football, turns to his right, just dumps it out there. Just a way to get the football in Daryl Mitchell's hands. But that's a great open field tackle by Deshaun Austin.
As a result, no gain for Daryl Mitchell. And Mitchell is hurt, so the Argonauts' best offensive player is shaken up as a result of the tackle by Deshaun Austin.
And by the design of that play, Daryl Mitchell doesn't have a whole lot of blocking help. He basically just has one receiver downfield, and Deshaun Austin got up there in a hurry.
Down by 19. The Argos' best player is down as well.
Marcus.
NFL tonight on TSN, the Jags and the Giants. Chris Schultz likes the Jags. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, you did. I'm not sure what the spread is, but he's taking the Jags. So he's been on a roll.
He's having a great season.
He's picking them, of course, with Sports Center, and he's way above 500. And
I think he's likely going to establish a record this season for the highest percentage.
That's a new record.
Slack is wrapped up, and Alondra Johnson was all over him, so it was second down and 10, and the Argos stall again.
Stall again when, you know, Daryl Mitchell had to go out of the game, and right when they do, they need a big play. It's nothing more than a stunt. The difference between a stunt and a blitz is that in a blitz, you really send more defenders than can be blocked. In a stunt, you send about the same. It's just a stunt from the linebackers from Alondra Johnson, and he beats his man and gets to the quarterback.
Argos are out of field goal range, so Prefontaine will try and pin them deep. Antonio Warren has taken one 99 yards for a touchdown, and he won't get the play on this one. It'll dribble to McGarity, and no play for him either. It rolls out at the 10. A 37-yard punt, and Prefontaine is not exactly hammering them so far this afternoon.
Well, he's been trying to angle them a little bit. They've not been able to move the ball in offensive territory. Marcus Crandall has been. He's put together some big numbers throughout the season and some big numbers in the first half, and he's 50 yards away from 4,000.
26 touchdowns on the season. A couple here this afternoon. Don Blair for 56 yards to Kelvin Anderson for 19. Stampeders begin just inside the 10-yard line. Crandall has time and looks deep. He's got McGarity. Oh, very close. Wayne McGarity in behind the cover.
Alonzo
Steinauer came over.
Yeah, the safety, Alonzo Steinauer. He got way over to the field. He's right here. Now he's going to go over to the field side and open up his hips. Marcus Crandall goes backside. He does a speed turn, which is a blind turn to the quarterback, and just gets back in time to take that football away from Wayne McGarity. Look at the time that Crandall has. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Still not touched. Do we got it? Do we got it? Oh, close. Close. Steinauer just got back in time.
Second and 10. Crandall will get a first down out of this. Out at the 25-yard line. Camille Loud for 16.
Crandall's got nice time right now to throw the football. That was a deep pattern from Camille Loud. It was like a deep curl pattern where he goes down the field about 15 yards, curls, and comes back. Now, to do that kind of play, you need 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket. Crandall had plenty of time. He just dropped back in there out of the shotgun, and he just said, watch how the pocket just nice there. He's got a nice throwing lane to come out there, throw that curl. That was about a 15-yard route.
Stampeders first down at the 26. Calvin Anderson wrapped up by Mike Fletcher. Fletcher zeroed in on Calvin Anderson.
You know, and I love what Michael Fletcher did. This is a dangerous time for a defensive player as you're trying to run laterally. Fletcher is right here, and watch him go to this side. He's thinking a receiver's coming down. Watch him check to his right. He's going to come over. He's still back there. See, take a quick look to his right there. He took a look to his right to see if one of those guys, Travis Moore or maybe Kamal Peterson, were coming down to give him that blind side crack block. Didn't happen, so he went ahead and made the tackle.
And created a small loss. This will be 2nd and 11. Here's the heat. Blitz was on. Crandall got it away. Not this time. Deep coverage by Antonius Bonner.
Travis Moore hasn't been 100% most of the year, and he was limping a little bit on that play. See, he gets a nice little waggle to the line of scrimmage. There's a head fake move on Antonius Bonner. Now Bonner trying to get to that upfield shoulder and turn back. It's pretty good coverage. And there's the limp after.
Still over 1,000 yards for Travis Moore, despite the injury problems he's faced this year.
And Mike Clemens' goal, he said to us, was 2 touchdowns in the 3rd quarter.
9:20 remaining in the 3rd. Argos are still down by 19.
Matt Cody can find a way.
Real stupid.
Cody won't get a play on that. Rolling out of bounds, so the Argos will begin back around their own 45.
What is the sense of an avalanche?
Skype on the TSN Turning Point will be brought to you by Super 8 Motels.
What?
Here's one of the great signs of the season. Tickets to the game 80, parking 20, Argo hats 30. See on TSN Sports Center, you're guaranteed. You guys, priceless. Priceless. A lot of work went into that.
Not as much work went into that outfit.
Well, the hair, you know, you spend all day at the hairdresser just getting ready. Argonauts down by 19. Reggie Slack on first down, far side. Mitchell's okay. Darryl Mitchell gets close to a first down.
Well, when he went off, he looked like he had a sore hand, that left hand. He's kind of looking at it again now, and he was wiggling those fingers, but he caught that ball cleanly and kind of thrown out of bounds. And he's the guy that they've got to go to. I mean, he didn't have a very good game versus Calgary when they played early in the year. Just 33 yards receiving in that one. But that was early, and that was before the quarterbacks realized just how good Mookie is, which is a surprise.
Yeah,
it took like 8 games before they realized, oh, yeah, we've got this all-star,
all Canadian all the time.
Yeah, out there. And we should get him the ball. And then he went on a bit of a tear. And his numbers have dropped off a little bit of late again. And that may be because the defense realized that if Demetrius Bendros isn't playing well, then the Toronto Argonauts receiving corps is
number 87.
That's right.
And they've had to make some changes to the receiving corps going along this season, adding Bendros and others. It was a first down. Toronto flags are down here. Andre Talbot has had a good day. We'll see if this one will count for Toronto.
And this is what we're talking about with Darryl Mitchell. It's just getting him the football. You almost, if you're Reggie Slack, lock into him. Because Darryl Mitchell this time is the deep receiver. Here he is, and he's going to go right down into the middle post. He's working on Kelly Malvo. Good head fake there. Watch this move. Little push off. Look at him. Wide open.
Offside.
Wide open.
Toronto,
Give him the football.
Number 86. Repeat first down.
Penalty is against the Argonauts.
You know, and if you're Slack in a desperate time right now, 29-10 in this football game, you know, why not take some chances to Mitchell, even if he is covered? Darryl Mitchell can find a way to come up with that one. And if Darryl Mitchell's not there, and I know quarterbacks are not taught to lock into receivers. They take you to where the read goes and blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is, get it to your playmakers.
Offside Toronto. It'll be 1st and 15 here. Another flag comes down on the pass intended for Mitchell.
Well, Anthony Malbrough this time was in coverage on Daryl Mitchell, and this time that's exactly what Slack did. He goes to him, and it's just the pass is not quite on. I mean, the pass is not as accurate as it could be. Here goes Daryl Mitchell.
Forward
This time
pass
it's a curl route.
Calgary number 26.
And
First
see,
down.
Anthony Malbrough is going to get called on that grab right there. So automatically, the first time you go to Daryl Mitchell, something good happens, and that's a penalty against Calgary. Keep the drive alive. And if that ball is accurate, not only do they get the penalty, if it's thrown to the opposite shoulder, Daryl Mitchell could still be running.
Mitchell didn't even go after the ball. He knew the penalty was coming. On a low toss from Reggie Slack, so the Argos get a first down, and they're out near Calgary's 50. Loose ball picked off. Yes. They call it an interception.
I think they are going to call it an interception.
Jason
Absolutely.
Bray.
Jason Bray got the tip.
And that's an unfortunate bounce for the Argonauts. Deflected ball. And
Over
it comes down to Jason Bray.
Over an under pattern. I believe it was Ted Alford was the under. He's going to come under here with Daryl Mitchell, the layer over top. And the ball is intended to the under pattern. There goes Daryl Mitchell. What was opposite? Daryl Mitchell was over from that side. But there's the tip. Here's Daryl Mitchell on the over. Jason Bray's in coverage with him. He sees the ball in the air and just reacts to it right down and pulls that off the turf. I don't think it ever hit the ground.
It is an interception. Stampeders get a turnover and a first down at the Calgary 35. There was a play by Antonius Bonner.
Well, let's take one more look, because that one bounced around a little bit at the Jason Bray interception, and I thought he kept that one off the ground, but we'll take one more closer look. Ball's up in the air right there. Bray takes a step to it. Hasn't touched now. He's got it in his hands. Well, might have slipped out of there and touched the ground on his way down.
Well, or it came off his knee.
Holding. Calgary number 54.
Either way, and we've
Penalties
said this a
declined.
few times
Second
because
down.
we've done a few games this year. You and I.
Yes.
But when we have the luxury of that real slow replay like that, it makes it pretty easy to be experts, as the officials have to make that call in a split second.
Well, that was very, very close.
Yeah.
No question about that. Penalty against the Stampeders makes this 2nd and 10. And they'll be kicking quickly.
Well, now
on 3rd down.
Now the Argos, see, now what the Argos have resorted to do, they haven't got a lot of pressure from the front four, like just the 4 of them, which is a bit of a surprise in a game as important as this one from Scott, Maxey, Dunbrook, and Montford. So if you can't get pressure with just 4, then you have to start to send linebackers. And on that last play that forced Calgary to punt, Martavius Houston, O'Shea, and Michael Fletcher, who was playing linebacker, all blitz. Now the downside of doing that is when you live by the sword, sometimes you can get stabbed by it. And look for Crandall when he gets the ball back to try and go right down the field with all that blitz coming.
Well, and he connected with Don Blair, a wide open situation earlier for a 56-yard touchdown. Big charge was on. Fletcher was very close. Livingston dances around, waits for a block, has the sideline, and about 11 on the return after a 43-yard punt. It's Argo time now. The Argos are down by 18 and have to get rolling.
Games, and you just threw to break saying the Calgary Stampeders had an 18-point lead. Let me just see, 29 minus 10. That would be 19 points.
I also said
right
that
there.
The Argos were in big trouble, didn't I? And that doesn't change very much.
I thought I was the guy with the math problem.
Well, we were never math majors, either of us. All the stories and the scores and the highlights with Corey Warren coming up at 7 Eastern on Sports Center tonight. The Argos down by 19. Have 6 minutes and 28 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Reggie Slack, a little shovel pass and not a well-advised play there.
Well, Tyrone Rogers had the intended receiver on the shovel pass, who was Robert Drummond, all tied up. I'm not sure why Reggie Slack decided to go there.
No, it wasn't well executed at all. And you know what? Things could have been a lot worse for the Argos on that than just losing it down.
Yeah, it could have been intercepted. And you wonder when, you know, maybe it's time to shuffle the deck a little bit at the quarterback position. I know Reggie Slack's numbers aren't terrible, They've got to find a way to get in the end zone.
And they have to get there in a hurry. This is 2nd and 10, Toronto. Slack looking deep far side, and he's got Alford. Did he stay in bounds?
He didn't, but there's a flag down right around the center stripe, and that's exactly where Ted Alford made his move. And I believe it was on William Fields. The flag came out when Ted Alford tried to go to the corner. He made a post move to the middle and then back outside.
Illegal contact on a receiver, Calgary number 29. First down.
That's William Fields. He was in coverage, and right when Alford made his move, William Fields grabbed him, and that's illegal contact. So that moves the chains for the Toronto Argonauts.
Argos dodge a bullet there with a first down at the 50. Slack shotgun rolling right. Morelli couldn't hang on.
You know, and the reason I mentioned the possibility of Jim Ballard with Reggie Slack is that, you know, sometimes even when it's not the quarterback's fault, even when the quarterback's numbers are okay and you're behind and it's for a lot of other reasons, sometimes the change is just what you need. It's a different pace to the game. Maybe you come in with Ballard, you run a little hurry-up offense, you change things up a little bit, get some pace, and maybe you get the quick score and some enthusiasm back.
As you say, the numbers aren't bad. There was the interception, but that was a tip ball. However, the Argos need to get rolling here. Well, there's a start, or at least another completion. This hasn't been a bad drive, although penalties have helped out with Ted Alford making another catch on the far side.
Yeah, and that was an accurate throw from Reggie Slack because Ted Alford was covered on the initial pattern, which was to go on a corner to the sideline, and then he had to come back to the football. So Slack just threw it right to make Alford come back. He rolls away, throws back to his backside, and he makes Ted Alford come all the way back to the ball.
First down, Toronto. Alford again. A little hitch pass. Short of a first down.
Now Reggie Slack starts to call the plays on the line of scrimmage. And he's going from left to right. Now the quarterback has to get it, especially out to those wide receivers. Make sure that everyone has not only the play, but the snap count.
Second down and 5. The flag is down and almost picked up behind the receiver. William Fields had a shot at that. Flag down on the far side.
That pass was intended for Ted Alford again, and Daryl Mitchell was the deeper post pattern in behind it. And again, we're wondering why Daryl Mitchell has not seen the ball more. Kelly Malvo basically had to grab him there. See how he's
Calgary
open?
number 91.
He's open on the break. That's
down.
the same pattern he's run a couple of times. And for some reason, Slack has gone away from him.
Well, another penalty against the Stampeders keeps this drive rolling, and the Argos are now looking at 2nd and 1 on the offside. At the Stampeder 39. 4:14 to go in the third quarter. Robert Drummond carries a couple of Stampeders with him and should have the first down.
Well, you know that one of the guys that the Toronto Argonauts just brought into the game is Matt Cody, number 11, and they put him in the slot back on the weak side. Now they run the ball. He comes in on one play there. They run the ball to Drummond, and that's just to get Cody just a little bit comfortable in the offense and the snap count. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe throw it up to him, either him or Daryl Mitchell on this play.
First down, Toronto.
That's Cody right at the top of your screen.
Slack goes for it all. He's got it. Daryl Mitchell. Did you call that one?
You know, it's a pretty simple game. And sometimes you can make it too complicated. Sometimes you can really make it too complicated. And this is what they've had to do. You know, Daryl Mitchell's pretty well covered. He's covered down the field, but why not take a chance? Throw it up there. You see how Greg Frères came underneath that one. Jason Bray was in pretty good position, but guess who came up with the football? Daryl Mitchell.
And he made it look rather simple. Mitchell comes up with the catch, and the Argos will go for 2, or at least that was the plan that Mike Clemens was talking about to make these numbers a little more favorable. Looking for 2 on the convert. Reggie Slack. No catch. Robert Drummond couldn't hang on, but Reggie Slack has a connection. A 36-yard strike to Mookie Mitchell. Something to celebrate.
Good position. Mitchell gets that inside again. Safety Greg Ferris comes underneath, and Mitchell makes it look easy on the catch.
And he's over 1,000 on the season as a result of that touchdown reception. 1,009 yards for Mitchell. 4 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns for Darryl Mitchell. McGarity returning for the Stampeders. And he's out to the 50. So the Argos get a little closer. They're within 13 now. And we were hoping the Rock Legends could come up and join us, but they're down there with John Lou. He grabbed them first. Hey, John.
Hey, John. We are here with the halftime act to finish off the season. Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman, and guys, how's it feel to be in Toronto again, performing in front of a football crowd?
This is great, man. I really like it down here at field level. You really get a different perspective of the game than you do watching on television. It's great, man.
Love it. It's great.
How about the CFL itself, though? I mean, you guys are both from Winnipeg. Randy, you're out in BC now, but what affiliations? Who do you cheer for?
Well, Milt Stiegel, come on, he just set a record, and Kahari has been a fixture in Winnipeg for several years. You know, Bombers are drawing great crowds, and I gotta say, go Winnipeg. You know, I mean, even though I don't want to get stoned here by the crowd, but we're always hoping for the Bombers. We grew up in the days in the 1950s when the Bombers and Hamilton were in the Grey Cup every year, so we go back a long way.
Randy, how about you? You still have a burning desire for the hometown Bombers?
Yeah, I'm a Bombers fan forever. The big blue, you know. Yeah.
How many chances do you get to get home and see them again? I mean, they've been having a fantastic run the last few years.
We're lucky if we could see a game on TV once in a while. We haven't had a chance to go to live football. This is it. We played the Grey Cup a couple of years ago. That was it. And this.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We really enjoyed the show. Thank you.
Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman.
It was fantastic. They sounded great at halftime. And
well, it's Canada's greatest ever rock and roll band, I guess who?
That's right.
From Winnipeg.
And we were at that Grey Cup where they were performing, and it was a great show as well. And this year, of course, with the Grey Cup, Shania Twain will be at halftime, and we're looking forward to that performance.
That'll be terrific as well in Edmonton. Almost sold out at Commonwealth. Stampeders are on a roll again, and here's Marcus Crandall. Close to a first down, and a penalty marker is down as Crandall goes down, and very, very close to the 10 yards necessary.
We'll see what the penalty is, because it is close enough that Calgary would go ahead and probably gamble on it.
Holding. Calgary number 2. Repeat first down.
That'll be first down again. And that was down the field. Ibtum Kara. Let's take a look at this defensive line. You can watch this defensive line throughout this series for the Toronto Argonauts. Everyone talking about Winnipeg down on that sideline now. For the Argos, and just see if they're getting off the ball. I mean, and this has been, to me, is maybe the biggest surprise in this game. Roger Dunbrook, Maxey, Johnny Scott, they have all the talent in the world to be able to do it. See if they're getting up off there.
First and 20 for the Stampeders, and nowhere to go there. Even if the catch were made, as Crandall.
Martavius Houston comes on the blitz, forces a quick throw. Whenever you get pressure, and whether it be by 4 defensive linemen or by blitz, like they did on that play with Martavius Houston, it allows the secondary to gamble. And when I say gamble, it's sort of like a calculated risk rather than a gamble. It's probably the better way to say it, because now in the secondary, you know the quarterback has no time. He's got to get that ball back, and when he looks at the receiver, he's got to go to that receiver, and you can jump it and make a play.
Some early movement on 2nd and 20.
And if you don't get that pressure on the other side, that is when Marcus Crandall and the quarterback.
Violation. Calgary number 1. Repeat second down.
That's when the quarterback now, can you remember the play Steinauer bit on that play action fake early in the first half? Okay, that's when the quarterback's got lots of time to throw, and he's pump faking, and he's handing off, and then he's pulling it out of there, and he's pump faking. That's when you get in trouble as a defensive secondary, because now you can't jump that first look by the quarterback. It all starts and ends with pressure.
Time count violation against Calgary makes this 2nd and 25, and Randall barely got it away. However, he draws a flag.
Yeah, and look at that. I mean, and that flag may be for intentional ground, and they'll just see that Calvin Anderson was nearby, so they'll probably take it up. But that is Joe Montford coming off the edge in a hurry, and this is what I'm talking about. The Argos decide to go with the 3-man rush, and the 3-man rush includes this guy right here, and watch this. 3-man against 5, but Montford gets that great jump. Calvin Anderson can't get there, and bam,
third down.
Crandall has no time.
You're exactly right on the call, and here's another look.
The idea was for Calgary was to set up a screen play, have Montford come in and dump it in behind him to Calvin Anderson, but Anderson's got to stop him for at least 1 count. He didn't even slow him down.
So on 3rd down, O'Mani is in. The Argos have 2 deep back near the Toronto 30. Now the Argos have called a timeout, and Pinball obviously a little distressed over there on the Argonaut sideline.
Well, he's been angry since about halfway through the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, and he really got angry at the end of the 2nd quarter when Antonio Warren took 199 yards for the touchdown.
And John, you mentioned it a few moments ago. You don't blame him. You don't blame him for being mad at his football team, who came out in the first half on defense with very little emotion, gave up some big plays, and got themselves in a hole in a game that is their entire season.
Well, yes, this means another date, another chance to make some money in a home field playoff game. O'Mani, nice kick. Livingston. And Bashir Livingston is near the 30-yard line.
Well, and the other thing is that last play on that last throw to Daryl Mitchell from Reggie Slack bought him another series. So even if Mike Clements was considering Jim Ballard at that time, now he goes back and he gives Reggie Slack for sure 1 more series in there, and maybe more, maybe the rest of the game.
Argos are down by 13 with 14 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, and Reggie Slack has tossed for 228 yards.
That 1 interception you mentioned, not really his fault. It went through the hands of Ted Alford.
Argos start deep in their own zone inside the 30.
Well, their goal was 2 touchdowns in the 3rd quarter. It looks like they probably will only get the 1. And they missed the 2-point convert, makes it a 13-point game. So they're going to need 2 more anyway.
2 touchdowns to win and keep the Stampeders off the
10
board.
seconds on the play clock, 10 seconds on the play clock, 5 seconds on the game clock.
Just adjusting the time clock. Apparently the math not perfect for everybody.
Well, you know, people do struggle with mathematics at times.
5 seconds on the in the 3rd quarter remaining. 10 seconds to get the play underway. Clock won't start until the whistle blows, which it just did.
Slack has Bendros, and Bendros is dropped at the 30 on the final play of the 3rd quarter. So the Argonauts have 1 quarter to go, and they have 13 points to make up.
Yeah, a week ago, the BC Lions found out about the determination of the Calgary Stampeders as the Stamps, who had already been eliminated from playoff contention, beat BC at McMahon Stadium. Seen the same thing today in Toronto. We really shouldn't be surprised, should we, Matt?
No, not at all. And determination is the key word for the Calgary Stampeders, and we'll show it to you right here. Too many second and long situations that the Calgary Stampeders have been able to convert Here you see Marcus Crandall find Travis Moore, and why not? He's your go-to guy. Antonius Bonnet, wrap him up. Now they're punting, but he struggles for a first down. And to me, this is the difference of these two football teams the first 3 quarters, is the Calgary Stampeders continue to put the winning effort on the field, breaking tackles such as that, in order to put themselves in the position to win this football game.
Effort's a big part of the equation, obviously, but so is attention to detail. And we're going to show you a play here that results in an interception, a Toronto turnover. And what you're going to see here is to the left of your screen, you're going to see Ted Alford running the dig pattern. Mookie Mitchell is coming down the middle of your screen. He's got the post. But watch Mitchell right here. He pulls up. He does not finish his clear-out pattern. What does that mean? That puts Jason Bray right there in the middle of the field where he has no business being. And when you get to the tip ball from Alford, off his hands into Jason Bray's hands, that's an interception. Mookie Mitchell continues to clear out the pattern despite the fact that he's not getting the ball. Then there's no interception on that play.
Well, Jock, a couple things going into the fourth quarter. First and foremost, I think Toronto has to go hurry up. They're running out of time, and I think Calgary just plays zone, nickel and diamond to death. But let's leave on a positive one. Sometimes football plays are fun to watch just because they're executed to perfection. Here's a good one for the Argonauts. Reggie Slack, nice throw, hits Daryl Mitchell in stride, great touchdown. Too bad that didn't happen a heck of a lot more. The Argonauts have issues. Calgary's looking good, Dave.
Well, it came out of nowhere, that play, and they can do it again. Hey, we got 1 quarter to go in the CFL's regular season. It's been a fun season to watch, and now we've got another 1 quarter to decide whether or not the Argos go in, Hamilton goes in, who Saskatchewan plays. You got to like it. Let's send it back to Skydo for John and Glenn.
A quarter to go. The Argonauts still hoping for a playoff spot. They're down by 13.
Take a look at the numbers. Passing pretty even between both teams. Reggie Slack really, we mentioned it earlier, not playing badly. And he will definitely stay in the game after the touchdown pass to Daryl Mitchell, who now has 4 catches, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Argonaut defense playing a little better as well, allowing just 2 Stampeder first downs in the third quarter. So they have to really shut them down here in the fourth and find a way on offense to score a couple of touchdowns.
You heard Chris Schultz mention it, though, at the break there, and he said, hurry up offense. And that's no huddle offense. You don't do it right now because you just come out of the quarter, so the clock doesn't start. So they'll call the play now, but it's almost time. I mean, you really got to get into that hurry up. The other thing it can do for you is change the pace of the game, maybe tire out the Stampeder defense a little bit.
Ted Alford flanks to the near side. Second down. 7 to go for the Argos. Spotted at the 30-yard line. Slack has time. And the coverage was too tight. The ball bounced up, intended for Daryl Mitchell. And there was a chance for Jason Bray to grab another one.
Anthony Marlborough was covering Daryl Mitchell on the play, and Mitchell tries to get inside. You see, now that could definitely be called pass interference, or probably worse. But he got away with it.
Assault.
and Jason Bray almost got that tip.
Noel Prefontaine on third down, Toronto. Across the 20 to get a deep one away. Antonio Warren beginning at the 26. A little razzle-dazzle reverse. Deshaun Austin has about 5 yards more, but the Argos playing with a little more intensity on special teams, limit the return after a 52-yard punt to 5 yards.
Well, I love what Martavius Houston just did there, and if that doesn't fire up his teammates, I don't know what will. He was getting blocked and basically made the tackle with his left arm on Deshaun Austin, who took the reverse the opposite way. I mean, number 25 was just amazing on that special teams play, and if his teammates noticed, then that should fire him up.
Talked about the Argonauts shutting down the Stampeders in the third quarter. Crandall just 2 of 8 for 26 yards as the fourth quarter begins for the Stampeders. Antonio Warren, and the Argos defense causes a loss on the far side for Warren as O'Shea was there along with Michael Fletcher.
Well, Marcus Crandall just needs about a 25-yard throw to get up over 4,000 yards. That's to get him up over it.
26 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. The interceptions at the midway point of the season were really a telling tale for the Stampeders. Lost is 1. This is 2nd and 11.
Linebackers up in the line of scrimmage for Toronto and take off.
Crandall looks to the near side. No catch. And that was close to being an opportunity for the Argos because the ball didn't hit the ground immediately, and Fletcher was right there. Couldn't get to it, but it bounced to him on the second hop.
Even though Martavius Houston and Michael O'Shea went on that on a stunt, Reggie Gibbons, the opposite linebacker, dropped out of there. So did Fletcher, and that's why it looked like Crandall had time, but there was coverage down the field.
Argos could use a superb special teams effort here. Cody is the lone man back. Mac Cody playing his first game for Toronto. Omani back near his 20.
Well, they've got 11 on the line of scrimmage right now, John. With just one return man, that would indicate the block is coming.
Oh, just about. Omani got it away and angled it well away from any return for Mac Cody. It was about 60 yards away from Cody, but the Argos came very, very close. The Argonauts looking at 12 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. They're down by 13. Looking at first down. Reggie Slack will have room to run. And an open target as well. This is Andre Talbot. He's played well for the Argos, still on his feet. It takes 3 Stampeders to bring him down.
Well, he's got him going now. And one guy that's happy that Reggie Slack's got something going offensively is owner Sherwood Schwartz, who is watching the most important game for the Argos since he's taken control of them.
Well, the opportunity was here this afternoon to make the playoffs, and still is, with a couple of quick touchdowns, and to finally turn things around. I think all the publicity this week has created a better crowd here at Skydome, because this looks to me to be the largest audience of 2002.
And likely a fairly large television audience as well. And you know one thing, that just down the highway here, there's a whole bunch of people, Hamilton fans, watching this game. I think Saskatchewan and people in that province would be interested to see who they're going to play.
In Saskatchewan, who are they cheering for?
I don't think it matters, but Sherwood Schwartz has done a lot of things this year to try and create some interest. He's got attendance up. He had John Lou mentioned it earlier, the halftime shows. We saw the band here today.
We did.
And that's just, you know, Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman, just another example of a halftime show to create some interest. And fans are up. They need a competitive football team on a consistent basis. There's no question about that.
Well, and a win today and a playoff game next weekend would be certainly a giant step for the Argos in that direction, no matter what happens in the playoffs further along the way. But
you know,
a game with the Saskatchewan Roughriders here next Sunday would be terrific for this football franchise, without question.
And ultimately, maybe you know, this team won't really start to prosper until a new building is found, a new facility, and a way to do that. And I know Sherwood Schwartz has thought about that throughout his ownership here and looked at alternatives.
Injury timeout here at Skydome, and we'll take a quick timeout as Ben Dross gets attended to and return in a moment. The young cheerleaders practicing for years ahead. Coming up later on TSN, the Fontana 500 for the Kart Series. Alicia will be watching this afternoon, won't she?
Yes, and happy birthday to her. It's her birthday today.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
How did we slide that in so smoothly? Happy birthday, Alicia.
Alicia's my daughter.
Yes.
For those who don't know.
Robert Drummond ran into Tyrone Rogers.
Ben Dross banged up, and he did walk off the field for the Argos, so he has to sit out 3 plays at least. He's coming off a big game. He had over 100 yards versus Ottawa, and need him for balance. Try and get some of that double coverage off of Daryl Mitchell.
Slack in the second half, 9 of 14, 118 yards. Key play here on 2nd and 10. Looking deep, there's Talbot. Couldn't get it to him. Actually, 2 Argo receivers in the area, Talbot and Matt Cody.
I thought Daryl Mitchell had a chance to get open there, and it looked like the play was designed to go to him because he was lined up in behind Morreale. See how he works inside again on Anthony Marlborough, who's holding the entire pattern, had inside position, a good hard inside throw, and you see Mitchell turn around and say, look, he's been grabbing my jersey all game long. And he's still talking to him on the sideline. He's not allowed to grab that jersey.
Argos out of field goal range, so on 3rd down, Prefontaine will try and put it out inside the 10. McGarity is deep. He goes the other way. No room to run on the far side. McGarity steps out.
Well, I'll tell you, it has been some season. I mentioned it earlier. We've done a whole bunch of games on TSN, and ratings have gone up tremendously, and it's a chance to maybe thank Canadian Football League fans for watching as much as they have this year. The league has turned the corner and has done a nice job of strengthening itself, and there's a whole lot of people behind the scenes that people don't get a chance to see that we get a chance now to maybe
that we work with every week.
That's right, and stats guys like Dave Moyer, Johnny Russin, Moisty, we call him. This is his nickname.
That's Moyer, not Russin.
No, that's Dave Moyer. We've got a whole list of guys, and we can't go through all of them because there's literally hundreds, but I'll tell you something, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that do a good job, and Andy Boyukas, who helps out with the panel, and Dave Stiff, who produces that, and you've got Paul Hemming is directing down below right now, and we call him Chopper. He's a director. He chops the show together.
Yeah, chops it, cuts it up.
You know, and good teams really can't do anything without good leaders, and we have good leaders as well, and Rick Chisholm, who takes care of everything, and you know, we got Paul McLean, the senior producer, and of course John Hines, who's producing this one. So lots of guys to thank and that have worked real hard, truly love Canadian football, work hard on their own time to make sure that the show goes to air properly.
Is your contract up?
And I don't want to forget our ISO director either, Chris Edwards, and actually it just happens to be.
Is it up? Well, I'll tell you what, I think you're in pretty good shape.
So I just want to one more time mention the head guy, Rick Chisholm, who is the guy I got to talk to.
You can go further up, you know. There's Keith Pelly, who runs the whole show.
No, but you know, and the thing is that there's also a whole bunch of people like the camera guys that are down there when it's raining, snowing, and everything else, and the people that put the truck together and take it apart. And you know, there's about 100 TVs down in those trucks and stuff. It's like a 747, and there's people, engineers that know how to take care of that. And thanks to all of them for a great season.
How long a contract are you looking for?
Nice long-term deal would be good.
There will be no return. Oh, hang on. Cody kept it in and managed to make
a yard.
Make a yard on it. Well done, Glenn. Well done.
How about this score? Calgary playing hard in their last game. Look at the Ottawa Renegades. They've just got a punt return for a touchdown. It's 26-23 in Montreal with 2 minutes to go. The Alouettes looking for their 14th win of the season. They've got 2 minutes to pull that one out.
What could be a major turning point in this game? Hoople and Dupuis both taking 15-yard penalties on the same play after the return.
Yeah, it was after the fact. It was after the whistle blew. It was penalties that they didn't have to take and did. Now it gives Toronto an opportunity.
Toronto gets 30 yards after the return, and the ball will be spotted at the Stampeder 31. So this is a chance for the Argonauts to get a touchdown, and I really think they need to come up with a major on this particular sequence.
Well, yeah, there's no question about it. It's now or never time.
Argos down by 13 with Talbot to the far side. Mitchell to the near side, and Slack looking for Mitchell over the middle. He's got him open. Rookie Mitchell turns the corner and heads to the end zone. Not quite there, but a good play. Solid effort by the Argonauts and Daryl Mitchell.
Daryl Mitchell comes a long way to catch that one. Now, the reason it works is because Slack gets outside of containment. Mookie comes from the left side of the formation all the way across, and he sticks with the play. He doesn't give up. Keeps working to the outside. His quarterback breaks containment, gets him the football, and the Argos are knocking on the door.
17 yards for the Argonauts. 1st and 10, Toronto. Inside the 15 of Calgary. Slack. Out pattern, far side. Bendros brings it in.
Daryl Mitchell is going to see probably the safety, Greg Freres, line up heavy onto his side. In other words, you'll see probably Jason Bray line up on top of him, and then Greg Freres will favor him. Greg Freres knows who the target is, so he's going to line up over him behind him. So Daryl Mitchell may become the decoy. On the backside, Demetrius Bendros, the primary receiver.
This is 2nd and 6. Slack to his left. Looks to run, can't get away, and not a well thought out play. Lost yardage there. So it is 3rd down. You got to take 3.
Yeah, I think so. With 9:07 left, you know, it's just you're 13 points down. So a major and 2 field goals ties a football game for you.
And 1 point gets you in the playoffs when all is said and done at the end of the day. I mean, if you finish in a tie and go to overtime, you're going to the playoffs.
And 9 minutes left, you're going to get more than 3 possessions if your defense is worth its weight. And they should be here in Toronto. Now Mike Clements is not going with the field goal formation. They're going to gamble. I think you kick 3 here.
3rd down and 10 to go. The Argos go gambling. Reggie Slack dragged down from behind, and I don't like the call that the Argonauts made there. There would be an opportunity with 9 minutes on the clock to get your touchdown and another opportunity at a field goal. The math doesn't add up.
Well, I just, you know, with 9 minutes, you got to look at possessions, okay? And on the play, the actual execution of the play, I think Reggie Slack just decided a split second late to run. If he decides early to run, he's probably got the 1st down. So he just wants to hold that extra second right there to look, and no, it's not there. Now when he goes to run, he is pulled down on the backside there by Antoine Young. And Daryl Mitchell's the guy he wanted. Daryl Mitchell on Anthony Marlborough, pretty good coverage. Let him go away.
So the Stampeders take over on downs and begin at the 15. Calvin Anderson, and a penalty flag is down.
But John, just to wrap up the point, and the reason that, you know, I thought 3 is more important at that point is that you look at possessions, and with 9 minutes left, you're probably going to get 4, 5, at least 6 possessions with time remaining.
Holding.
If your defense
Calgary,
can do what they have to do, and that's get a couple of stops.
2nd
so
down.
Based on that many possessions, you take the 3, you get another chance at 3, you take that as well. Now you're a major away from tying the ballgame. You need 1 point to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, you get your 3 now, you might get a touchdown, and now you've got an opportunity to kick the 3 for the tie.
That's right.
Holding against the Stampeders, so this will be 2nd down and 11.
Everybody's going.
Here's the heat on Crandall. Got it away. Argos have to put a stop on this play right here. Ball squirted loose, but the whistle had gone. And the Stampeders come up a little shy of the 1st down from our vantage point here.
I would say
Travis Moore makes the catch, and he's a yard shy after the run.
He's a yard shy. I can't believe, first of all, that Marcus Crandall got it out of there, and that Travis Moore did what he did to get as many yards as he did. He just saw his quarterback in trouble and started to scramble, and he got up there close. Now, I think this is a very good decision by Wally Buono to go ahead and punt the football. If you're going to get beat by the Argos now, they're going to have to drive more than 30 yards on a gamble. If you, in fact, you don't get the gamble.
At the 10, O'Mani for the Stampeders. 7:27 to go in the final quarter. O'Mani, a line drive taken by Matt Cody. Positive yards on the return for the Argonauts. Flag is down back behind the play. We'll check that out, but right now, a timeout at Skydome, Toronto. Stampeders for holding. It's declined by the Argonauts, and Toronto has a 1st down with 7:08 to play.
I tell you something.
At the 51.
I played against Mike Clements for years. I've watched him from up here for years, and I have never seen him as angry as he is right now and has been since the second quarter.
Well, his team had an opportunity, and so far the opportunity to be in the playoffs has been squandered. They have 6 minutes and 54 seconds now to make up for that. Talbot made the catch. The flag was down prior to that on the far side.
I think the flag's going to be offside Calgary. A bit of a free play, I believe, for the Toronto Argonauts, unless they were drawn offside. Pretty nice run by Talbot, who, if this play stands, basically now, when you look at it, the Argos are in field goal position right now. So if you take back that decision from the last series, they get a possession right away. If they kick 2 field goals in a row and not even get another first down,
they're within a touchdown of tying the game.
There you go.
Offside. Calgary number 11. Penalties decline. Second down.
So that's Jason Bray.
Bray, of course, had the interception. And see, now Mike Clements is upset. He wants his offense to get up over the ball and get the play called.
Now, they said second down, and that confused us a little bit. It is a first down for the Argonauts at the 40. First and 10, Toronto.
The clock is now the enemy of the Toronto Argonauts.
Argos need 2 touchdowns for a win. A touchdown and a couple of field goals for a tie. Slack will get a touchdown or a great opportunity in one here from Alford, who's down to the 5. I thought Alford had the end zone in sights. He turned the other way and got caught from behind, but still, Slack comes up with a huge first down for Toronto down at the 5.
Daryl Mitchell's the left side of the formation. I talked about Greg Frères favoring Mitchell's side in a big way. Well, he's way over there. See, no Greg Frères here. He's over here because that's where Mitchell is. And Reggie Slack realizes that there's no safety, so why not look over there initially and then go back to the opposite direction?
Here's the Argonauts first down at the 5. Slack running himself and lost a yard. And I thought Reggie Slack was thinking run all the way.
Well, that's the second time now when you look back to the last series on second down that the Argos have tried to move the ball to the perimeter. That time on an option play, the last time on a rollout. Both times the plays haven't worked. I think if you have Daryl Mitchell being double covered by the safety and you just drop straight back in that situation and open up the entire field for Reggie Slack, you have a better chance to put it in the end zone.
Slack lost almost 2 yards. Second and goal to go. Now the Argos at the 7. The touchdown toss. He's got it.
Yeah, that's drop back.
Ted Alford. The Argos are within 7.
Go for 1. They'll definitely go for 1. Make it a 3-point game with plenty of time left. And you go for 1 here. Now, that's a case of Reggie Slack dropping back and using the entire field, spreading it out, rather than trying to roll out and cut the field in half.
29-22 on the scoreboard right now. Argos are down by a touchdown, and now they're down by 6.
Yeah, down by the 2 field goals. Spread the field, baby.
Clemens is like a panther on the sidelines, pacing up and down.
Well, John, when you roll out, let's say Reggie Slack, when he rolls out this way, he eliminates that half of the field. If you drop straight back, now you have the entire field to look at. Slack looks to his left, goes back to the opposite direction, and there is Ted Alford.
Going for 1, they got the convert, and now it is a 6-point game. Stampeders leading 29-23. Can Reggie Slack bring the Argos all the way back? All they need is a tie to be in the playoffs. This guy took one back 99 yards for a touchdown in the final seconds of the opening half, but not anywhere to run for Antonio Warren this time.
Yeah.
And the Stampeders are pinned deep with 4:55 on the clock.
Now, if you're the Argo defense, to a man right now, this is why you play. This is the reason that as a kid you wanted to play football, and that is that you get into a game where your season's on the line. This is a playoff game for the Argos. And you want to be the guy that the play comes to. Throw it in my zone.
And in the second half, the Argos defense has done that. Just 2 first downs for the Stampeders compared to 12 for the Argonauts. Crandall took a hit.
See, and Montford is one of those guys. He's one of those competitors that said, okay, game's on the line. We didn't start well, but we're here and we're back. And watch 53. Straight upfield. Good, strong right arm on Pilon. He's in that backfield and puts a huge hit on Marcus Crandall. Let him know he's ready to play. They're going now.
4:28 remaining.
Argos can start. They start to taste it now a little bit.
2nd and 10. Stampeders. And this might be the whole game right here. If the Argos can force Calgary into a kicking situation in a hurry, they'll get the ball back. Penalty markers everywhere.
Well, were they drawn or were the Argos offside? Montford got a great jump, but I don't know if he saw movement in there in that offensive line. That's what he's talking about right now.
Time count violation.
Oh,
Calgary number
count.
1. Beat second down.
Oh, boy.
3rd time count violation of the ball game. 1 hurt the Argos in the first half. Coming up when we're done, the Fontana 500 from California.
Should be a good race.
The Kart Series continues this afternoon. What a finish we've got here this afternoon.
Should be a good race, and we got a race going on right now.
Calgary with 26 passing yards in the second half. The Argos with 186. Crandall lost it, got it back. Looking deep. Jump ball. And the Stampeders.
How'd he get that?
Travis Moore has a catch in front of Orlando Steinauer. 39 yards.
Unbelievable.
And that was almost an impossible situation.
9 in coverage for the Argos. Just a 3-man rush up front. Crandall has a little bit of time. He goes deep, and he doesn't have much hope here. Orlando Steinauer in perfect position and just missed the football. What a catch.
So Crandall is over 4,000 yards on the season. The Stampeders are not going down quietly. They have the lead. 3:28 on the clock. And the Argos have their backs to the wall here.
Crandall's checking the play on the line.
Charge was on, and Crandall put that one into the turf. Another 2nd and 10 situation facing the Argos.
Well, this is a big play for Toronto. Crandall now over 4,000. But this is a play for the Argo defense, because if they hold them here, and I'm not talking about just hold them short of the first down, but hold them completely, it's a long field goal attempt for Mark McLaughlin. Put some pressure on McLaughlin, because that's a key 3 points in this game.
Absolutely. It's a 6-point game as it stands now.
Fast break.
The Argos with the opportunity here. He'll score. Antonius Bonner. The Argos are even. 2:49 to play.
Oh, baby.
75 yards, the interception return.
When you can get pressure on the quarterback, good things happen. The Argos decide it's time to send everybody, send the house. Forces Crandall into a bad decision, and Bonner is going the other way with it.
75 yards. Bonner. The game-tying touchdown.
Wow.
The Argos were down by 19 at halftime, and this place is alive. Prefontaine for the lead. with 3 minutes to go. 75 yards.
Throw it in my zone.
Bonner goes all the way, and the Argos have the lead. Not over yet.
Well,
The Argos
pressure.
do have the lead.
It is pressure, John, and look at how many there are. 1, 2, 3. He's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's going to go up here and go. That's Alonzo Steinauer, the safety. 8 coming on the blitz. Here they come. Full-out blitz, fast break. Michael Fletcher gets the pressure, forces a bad decision and bad throw from Marcus Crandall. Antonius Bonner takes it the distance.
75 yards, and that puts the Argos in the lead. A smile for Pinball Clemens. He was a little owly, but he has to look at the clock and know that there are 2 minutes and 49 seconds remaining.
Well, it's not over. You got the Travis Moore catch. The Calgary Stampeders were in position there before that big mistake. Mistake created by pressure from the Argo defense.
Stampeders with 74 yards in total in the second half. The Argos with 185. Not to mention the 20 points Toronto has put on the board. So some anxious moments in Toronto. Antonio Warren took one 99 yards earlier, and that put Calgary into an advantage at halftime. A 38-yard return there. The president of the Argonauts prowling the sidelines, and there's his boss, the owner, Sherwood Schwartz.
Yeah, he can't sit down anymore.
No, he can't sit down anymore.
He has no room to pace up there. The box is pretty crowded up there, and Mike Clemens been up and down that sideline, back and forth, up and down, talking to his players, trying to keep them fired up. Penalty brought that return back a little bit, and now you got the Argos with a chance here for a stop.
Well, here's what was on the line for Sherwood Schwartz here this afternoon. Not only a chance to make the playoffs, but a chance to host a playoff game and get a few bodies in this ballpark for next Sunday afternoon against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Anxious moments indeed for the Argonaut owner, particularly when you looked at the way Toronto began the football game.
Well, yeah,
trailing 7-0 early. They got even and then down by a touchdown again. Then down 22-7, and by halftime down 29-10.
But they haven't quit. Defense started playing better in the second half. They got some pressure on the quarterback, forced some bad throws, forced a couple of mistakes. None bigger than the last one from Marcus Crandall.
Did you see Sherwood there feeling his pulse?
Yeah.
Just as we cut away, just checking his pulse, and I guess it's okay.
You know, and that should be mentioned again. It's not just to make the playoffs for the Argos, but to host a playoff game. And you mentioned earlier, right off the get-go, that the Leafs aren't playing that well right now. The Raptors struggling.
And that's being kind.
Yeah, and you can grab a little momentum here if you're the Argonauts. And you know, the other thing is, when you get in the playoffs, the record and the regular season mean very little. In fact, zero.
They mean zero.
Once you're in there, anything can happen. We've seen a couple of teams with 8 and 10 records make the run.
Well, we saw the Calgary Stampeders with an 8 and 10 record make the run all the way to become Grey Cup champions.
That's right.
And BC did the same thing the year before that.
That's right.
So 2:42. 1st and 10, Calgary, far side, complete.
Yeah, and right now, you know, I don't think...
And he's out of bounds.
They're going to call him out of bounds. I don't think the Argos, though, can get complacent here now.
Absolutely not.
I mean, their defense in the second half came into the game after halftime and started getting pressure on the quarterback, sending almost everybody. And if they start thinking they can drop back now and just give up a bunch of room, they're going to get caught.
Well, the Argos were looking just moments ago as the clock being the enemy. Now they're looking at it the same way. There's too much time on the clock. Toronto by 1.
Here they come.
2nd and 10. Crandall hit as he throws. Jump ball. A miracle catch again inside the 30 in double coverage.
Clifford Ivory was the guy one-on-one. He lost the ball. Bashir Livingston tried to help out. He came across to Camille Loud.
And Loud makes a immaculate catch here.
Well, here comes the pressure. Antonius Bonner got a little bit of a late jumper. He hits Crandall in the back before he throws it. The ball gets out of there. And you see how Clifford Ivory, number 13, lost the ball. He lost it up in the lights in the Sky Dome. Kamel Loud didn't.
Loud makes the catch for a 40-yard gain, and look where the Stampeders are now. 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Calgary already in field goal range. Down by a point at 30-29. This game means nothing to the Stampeders. It means everything to the Argos. No catch. Clifford Ivory putting the hit on.
Not everybody for the Stampeders was ready on the snap of that ball. Don Blair looked, and he wasn't even sure what the call was when the ball was delivered to Marcus Crandall from the center. You know, and this is a situation where Calgary now just has to calm down, relax a little bit, and make sure everybody's on the same page. They have a chance to keep this drive moving. They need the major.
When I say nothing is on the line for the Stampeders, the fact is, if they don't, their season is over tomorrow anyway.
Well, now, see, they're upset right now. There was some trouble getting that play in. And the plays all come from the bench from Jacques Chapdelaine. Crandall looked to the bench. So did Don Blair and McGarity. They were all wanting to get the call as quickly as possible. It wasn't coming in, and Crandall was forced to turn and call a timeout. You get one per half in the CFL. In a game that's a one-point game with 2:06 left, timeouts become pretty important.
When we're done here, the Fontana 500 comes your way, so we'll send you there as soon as we're done here. But we've got a big finish in store with the Argos on top by 1. However, the Stampeders can spoil the party. This is 2nd and 10. Stampeders at the Argo 28. They'll come up short of the first down. An 8-yard gain.
This time the Argos showed that they were coming and dropped out of there. Crandall didn't see him drop in time and decided to dump it off thinking blitz was coming. He had more time with the football if he wanted it. But regardless of that, Calgary does what they needed to do, get back in field goal position, and now put the onus on the Argos to move it down and win the game.
The Argos are looking at a 1-point advantage for now. The chance for a Stampeder field goal to take the lead for Calgary.
And O'Shea just told the entire Argo line to get back, so they're not offside here.
So Mark McLaughlin will have it spotted. And he puts it through. So the Stampeders have the lead by 2. The Argos are still alive with 1:39 to play. Well, it's all on the line now. A playoff spot in the East is either going to be awarded to the Tiger Cats or the Argonauts.
And we'll have to go down to 1:39. The final 1:39 to find that out. And, you know, we mentioned going in at halftime that Mike Clemens does a lot of public speaking and in the community.
He's a motivational speaker without question anytime you hear him talk.
And he had that motivational speech at halftime because this was a different team in the second half. So it must have been a good one from the head coach.
Full marks to the Calgary Stampeders for an inspired display here. They have made big plays, catches by Travis Moore, Camille Loud just a moment or two ago. Almost impossible catches in this final 2 minutes. And now it's up to the Argos to come back and win it. A field goal will do that. Matt Cody starts it off with a good return. He's out across the 40 to the 45 with a 34-yard return for the Argonauts.
John, that's huge.
So a nice way to begin. Toronto down by 2 to the Stampeders.
That's a huge return from Cody. Because that 44-yard return now means that Reggie Slack doesn't have to force the football down the field too much. He doesn't have to be too aggressive. Remember, a field goal wins it. You've got Noel Prefontaine, one of the best field goal percentages in the league. So you just need to get around the 30-yard line. If that return is 20 yards, 30 yards shorter, now you got to gamble from the quarterback spot.
And you may have to force it a little bit. So right now, although he can't relax, there's a chance for Slack. And intercepted.
Flag's down.
Flag is down.
There is a
The
flag
pass
down.
is intended for Alford, but it was picked off by Jason Bray, or at least Bray ended up with his hands on the ball and the football in his mitts.
I thought that Bray hit the intended receiver, Ted Alford, a little early. It's coming across this side of your screen. In pattern from Reggie Slack.
Forward pass interference, Calgary number 11.
There's the bump.
There was a bump before, right?
No,
and that's
yeah.
what they're calling the bump.
That is pass interference. He went through the man and bumped him before he can.
Yeah.
If you're resting your hand or whatever it is, it's not a penalty. If you get that bump and force the receiver down, you can't go through the man like that.
There you
That's
go.
pass interference.
That's it. It was the bump. So it's first down, Toronto. Pass to the far side, and Alford has it this time and hanging on.
And now
he'll get close to 7 yards, and the Argos are almost in comfortable field goal range right now, aren't they?
They're in range,
They're in
but
range.
maybe not comfortable
That's
field
the
goal
point.
range just yet.
Comfort zone that they want right now. With 1:17 on the clock, they also want to get rid of some time.
Well, Noel Prefontaine right now, the game starts to rest on his shoulders. Because, you know, if you're the Argos, you certainly don't want to force a mistake here, force the football too far. Noel Prefontaine's longest kick of the season is 51 yards. So this is inside his range. He can make it from here. 25 of 30 for Prefontaine on the season. He's only missed 3 field goals in his last 8 games. He's playing well. They don't need to force things now after the Argos, but they do need a little bit better field position than this.
Argos looking at 2nd and 3. 1:10 on the clock, and where will they stop Drummond? That should be a first down, yeah.
That's a big one now, because here the Argos can stay on the ground if they want to. They don't have to
set it
force
up
the
perfectly.
football.
And again, you look at the amount of time remaining. You don't want to kick the field goal with 1:04 to go and give the Stampeders a chance for a couple of plays.
I think one more first down makes it a comfortable kick for Prefontaine.
And you may want to kick on 2nd down, too. Robert Drummond
That's
with
not
54 seconds
It's
to
not
play.
a bad decision to keep it on the ground, John. I know you still would like to get a little more field position than they are right now. But you throw the football, a couple of things can happen that are bad.
Yes, it can hit the ground.
Or it could be intercepted, which ends your season.
That's right. The whole season is resting on this right now.
Now, you want to talk about pressure? You want to talk about pressure? Everybody wants to be the kicker when the practices are on and he's just sitting on the sideline watching. No one wants to be the kicker right now.
Right now, it would be a 44-yard field goal. Slack, a little sweep pass to the far side. Morreale has his first reception of the afternoon. Actually, his 2nd of the afternoon. And now it's kick time. Prefontaine.
Now the Calgary Stampeders can't ice them. They use their timeout. So this can be relatively routine, and now the game and the season and the playoff hopes of the Toronto Argonauts rest on the shoulders of Noel Prefontaine, who, by the way, is in his first year doing both jobs, field goals and punts. This will be his biggest field goal of his career right here.
It'll be held by Kevin Eben and kicks by Noel Prefontaine.
That is clutch. That is money. You know, if there was ever any question as to whether Noel Prefontaine could do both jobs, it's over now. There's your answer. Not only can he have maybe the best kicking percentage in the CFL this year, but he can also nail the big one.
Here it is from 42 yards. Noel Prefontaine knew he had it all the way.
That is money.
Yeah, the Argos are 24 seconds away from going to the playoffs. And that will be a catch, but out of bounds. McGarity.
That is, you know, the pressure on Noel Prefontaine makes that kick about a 100-yarder.
Well, it's great that you mentioned that this is his first year kicking field goals, because we really hadn't gone over that to that point of the game. And I mean, he's an outstanding punter and an all-star kicker in the CFL, I do believe, this season. 17 seconds to go. And this one is picked up. That's it. And this one is history. Clifford Ivory with the interception. 8 seconds on the clock. Saskatchewan is coming to Skydome to play the Argonauts.
I'll tell you what, he doesn't have the mentality sometimes of a kicker. He has the mentality of a linebacker.
Well, he likes to play the game. He sticks his nose in and makes some tackles, and obviously he has now made the kick of his career.
And because of the way the Argos season has gone, with a lot more downs than ups, he hasn't had to make a lot of pressure kicks. And it's not often that the kicker will get the game ball.
Well, he's won the game for them, so why not?
He's won the game on a pressure-packed kick of 42 yards.
Today's game ball brought to you by SportCheck.ca, Canada's choice for sports. Noel Prefontaine, a 42-yard field goal, puts the Argonauts into the playoffs. And Glenn, it looked a little glum along the way. At halftime, the Argos were down by a bunch. 20-29-10, but they scored all the points in the final quarter when they had to, except for a field goal. All the points belong to the Argonauts, and they have a 33-32 victory over the Calgary Stampeders on the final day of CFL 2002.
And a fitting way to wrap up our coverage of the Canadian Football League this year, and a tremendous finish. It's been a heck of a season from start to finish. The Argos find a way in the second half to battle back. Pressure-packed kick from Noel Prefontaine. They will host the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, and give the Calgary Stampeders a great deal of credit, too. Into the final 2 weeks of the season, the Stampeders played their hearts out. They almost came up with a victory in a meaningless game here this afternoon, and they did come up with a victory last week. So the Stampeders, the Grey Cup champions, go out like champions in spite of the fact that the season was a little bit tough on them at earlier stages this year.
Yeah, and Mike Clements, I'll tell you what, I think he willed that to be. At halftime, he must have had a tremendous motivational speech. He was pacing the sidelines. He kept his guys up and in it. I think he willed it to happen.
I'd love to have heard that speech. I wonder if anyone's got it on tape. Time now for the TSN Turning Points. And we'll let you guess at what it might be. You've got 3 seconds to make up your mind.
Well, it came down to the final 3 seconds, basically. 42-yarder from Noel Prefontaine puts the Argos in the playoff.
A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaches Association for the training and development of amateur coachers across Canada on behalf of TSN and Super 8 Motels. Clean and friendly Super 8. All the room you need. Reason to celebrate at Skydome in Toronto for Mike Clemens, the most popular Argonaut ever. He's got his team in the playoffs.
Wendy's CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Wendy's. Take a bite out of hunger with the Wendy's Big Bacon Classic. It's better here. By the Molson Canadian Ultimate Road Trip. Must be legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. And by Moore's Clothing for Men. Well made, well priced, well dressed.
Well, first of all, before it gets lost, Wellesley already said hats off to the Calgary Stampeders. We had a feeling they were going to make him work for it today, and they did. But the Argos, who trailed at 19 at the half, 13 after 3 quarters, get it done. Next week's playoff matchups are set. BC is going to Winnipeg for the Western semifinal, and Saskatchewan is going to Toronto for the Eastern semifinal, and Hamilton is done. Good game today. Good finish, anyway.
Well, Hamilton Ticats are done, and that really takes their season and puts it into perspective for the Toronto Argonauts. The first 2 quarters, they were brutal. The third quarter, they were average. But boy, did they turn it on in the fourth quarter. Calgary Stampeders, it was the exact opposite. The first 2 quarters, they looked really good. They looked like the team that wanted to get in the playoffs. The third quarter, you could see it slipping away, and in the fourth quarter, it did. It kind of summed up the season for the Calgary Stampeders. So the Toronto Argonauts won the football game, did what they have to do to get in the playoffs, and they won 3 in a row, guys. So, hey, it's Toronto, Saskatchewan.
Of course, they couldn't have waited much longer. It took
Yes,
the last 30 seconds of the regular season to decide who's going where, and the Toronto Argonauts finally got it done. They got it done with Mookie Mitchell, Reggie Slack stepped up, and their defense, the veteran core, who we said at the beginning of the year was the promise of this football team, and certainly their strength. And we saw it in the fourth quarter. They stepped up and made some plays. Good pressure by that front defensive line. Antonio Bonner picking up an interception and taking it 75 yards, Jock. Key players, defense, they stepped up at the right time. Pinball motivated them somehow. I don't know if he sprinkled a little magic on them or what, but they got her done in the end.
Well, we all noticed here in the studio watching Pinball on the sideline, and then he just got that fire back in his eye like he had as a player, and it didn't come until the third and fourth quarter, but it just seemed to infect the entire football team, and guys really did step up. Joe Montford was huge. Ted Alford had an excellent game for them, and they peaked at the right time, and I feel for those guys in Hamilton. I know all those guys are at home right now just feeling sick about what they saw, but you know what? hand it to Toronto. They had their destiny in their own hands, and they did it. Now, just before we go, guys, I just want to thank you for a great year. You've all been great to me. You haven't, pulled too many rookie stunts on me.
Don't get all soft
I really just wanted to tell folks at home that I appreciate it working with you guys.
It's the first time you've ever given us the compliment.
Exactly.
Don't get soft now, buddy.
Not a bad performance by the rookie. I guess your rookie trial is now over. You graduated with flying colors.
No, not yet.
No, we got the
Grey Cup. That's right. I forgot about the Grey
You
Cup.
can stop hiding my food on me and
Couple
stealing my notes.
Butter tarts.
Couple of things we got to take care of. First of all, the other game, Ottawa won 26-25 in Montreal. So congrats to Eric Tillman and Joe Pau and the Renegades finishing off that season strong. Our thanks to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame for allowing us to have the cup with us today. Kind of got us in the mood as the hunt for the Grey Cup begins. And our thanks to you for watching the CFL on TSN all season long. You heard Glenn say that the ratings have been pretty good, and we are certainly glad that you are enjoying it each and every Friday night and on the weekend as well. On behalf of Schultze and Maddie and Jock and our entire CFL on TSN crew, we'll see you next season. We'll be at the Grey Cup at Edmonton. We'll see you then, and we'll do it all again next year with a whole bunch more games. The next edition of the TSN Sports Center is coming your way very shortly, 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Corey Warren. He'll wrap up the full day in sports, and we're about to take you live to some card action. Cars going round and round. Zoom, zoom. Fontana 500. Schultze loves that stuff. He's
love it.
in here to watch that. Final at Skydome was 33-32. Here it was, 42 yards. Noel Prefontaine. And the Argos are into the playoffs for the first time since 1997. And that look says it all. Pinball is in. They'll face Saskatchewan next week. Thanks for watching, everyone.